just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. Before we get into it, absolutely huge news. This Thursday, 6 p.m, you may be looking at me going, geez, there's something different about you today, Dan, and it's my shirt. That's right. The DMP World Podcast Champion shirt is dropping this Thursday at 6 p.m. You can see hot as anything, sexy as anything. Make sure to be there. Limited numbers. So 6 p.m. Thursday. We've already printed them all. So once they are gone, they are gone. We cannot print more. And as you guys know, we usually don't do the same thing next year. So if you love this shirt, I personally absolutely love this shirt. You can wear it casually. You can wear it out. It's versatile, baby. Versatile. So that's 6 p.m. Bloke.shop. Set your alarms. Also, less noticeable, you may have noticed I'm wearing a helmet.
Not until you said it just then, but...
Yeah, well, hey, it's kind of like the beak. Sometimes it flies under the radar. Well, obviously it's in support of my boy, Reece Walsh. I think that they should change the rules if we want to grow as a game. NFL is clearly a bigger game, so why don't we take things from that? We talk about conference systems. We talk about trade windows. Now it's time to talk about passing forward. That's what I think so, boys. What do you reckon?
Adapt or die.
I wasn't sure if I was watching the Brisbane Broncos or the Denver Broncos on the weekend there.
Yeah.
For a bit.
Yeah. Now, it actually just happened to be fantastic timing because Kyle, absolute legend and part of the Bloke community, he rolled in, dropped off the helmet and said, here you go, a Bloke helmet, a Bloke NFL helmet. How good. And I said, you know what's so funny about that is I'm going to need it for the amount of Warriors fans that think that I called the forward pass. I called it. So look, do your worst in the Warriors in the comments section, guys. I've got my helmet on. No HIAs for me heading into the grand final. So, guys, with these helmets, you can actually get ones made, I'm pretty sure, or at least there's ones on the site. Go to nflhelmetsdownunder.com.au, and his Instagram is nfldownunder. Massive thank you to Kyle. Seriously, Guru, I didn't even cry when my kid was born. Nearly shed a tear here.
Maybe you did need an HIA.
Look, I nearly shed a tear when a kid was born, but you know what I said? I said, oh, my man.
It's going to call.
I said, I can't have my son come into this earth with his father crying.
Just quietly, if you win a grand final this year, you're going to have a kid every year.
Holy shit, Guru. Don't say that. Oh, my God. Don't say that at all. I've actually been trying to keep that under wraps, the fact that, like, I had a kid and we're in a grand final. I try to keep that under wraps because I don't want to curse anything, Guru.
It's a lot for a lot.
I ate liver at the start of the year to uncurse my club. Imagine what I'm going to have to bloody do if something happens in the grand final.
Isn't that one of the most underrated moments of the year?
Yeah.
When you look back at it now?
You look back at anything the Broncos did, but that was the moment of the year. That's the reason why you're playing in the big dance on Sunday.
I'm not saying that because that may recurse. So I'm just going to let the omens and the good nature that's been building over the years just do its work, hopefully. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
Sounds good?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Good luck to you.
Roo, how was your weekend, big fella?
It's good, mate. I've got a little announcement myself today, Kempy.
Uh-oh.
I look around this studio with my colleagues, my friends and whatnot. Obviously, Matty is one of the great Adam Reynolds cucks of all time.
Oh, 100%.
You just insufferable this week with the Broncos, and I know he would turn his back on the state of New South Wales at any given moment. So, mate, this week...
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me?
The West is best. Let's get it done.
Hey, this is outrageous.
We're going to get a helmet in here for Guru as well.
What the hell? You betrayed me, Guru. We've had 3 years of bliss in this relationship, 3 years of just growing the biggest sports podcast in the country, and we get to the big dance, and you betray me.
There is not a hope in hell I'm going for Brisbane.
Oh, my God.
Here it is.
What the hell? Hammy, speak to me. Can you do something as the ref?
I wish I could, but I'm actually all aboard the
What
roof
the hell?
as well this weekend. So,
What the hell? I tell you what, it's always the ones closest to you. It's the ones closest to you that fucking betray you. Hey, Timmy, anything?
It's the first time the Roo, even though he's had another club switch, that he's shown a bit of ticker for the state of New South Wales, mate, and I'm with him. Penrith three-peat.
Oh my, what the fuck is going on here?
Queensland being premiers.
I've been betrayed by my most loved pundits. Unbelievable. You know what? We were going to go to Vegas, now we're not.
I mean, I love Reece Walsh.
Oh, Timmy, how's your weekend, mate?
It was good, mate. But it's all about this week, grand final week. It's not the punters' grand final, but it is the best grand final that we could have asked for football wise. Yeah,
How's your weekend, mate?
Really good, really good. As I said last week, it was basically cannon fodder going through those prelim games, and the two best teams are in there. What more could you ask for? This is going to be one of the great grand finals, I reckon, this weekend.
I truly believe if both teams play as good as they can play, it may be the highest standard of rugby league we've seen in a very long, at least one of the highest standards of rugby league we've seen in a long time at club level.
Yeah, if you get the best out of both sides, it's going to be one of the greats for sure.
Oh my God, I cannot wait.
We're going to get the best out of the Panthers, we know that. It's as if the Broncos cannot shit the bed for the second year in a row.
This is upsetting, boys. I come off a prelim win. How good. First grand final we've been in nearly, 8-9 years. And then you just ambush me. Look, I can't help the Broncos ambushed everyone else this year. Now you got to ambush me. It's unbelievable. Now, just quickly, it's grand final week. Make sure you're taking care of for game day. Bloke Lager is on special in every celebrations and bottle-o across New South Wales and Queensland. Look for Bloke Lager celebrations footy finals catalogue at $56 a carton. Celebrations and bottle-o stores are listed on their website, so there will be one close to you. Get to Celebrations Bottle. Get yourself a case of Bloke Lager. Let's see the best Bloke Lager game set up. Yeah, look, shoot us a photo. Maybe we'll give out some gift cards. I don't know. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. I'm feeling kind of generous. Well, I was feeling generous until my friends betrayed me. But anyway, let's get straight into a bit of rugby league chat, hey? It's time for Face the Music.
Let me get it up there.
There we go.
Face the music.
There we go. Oh, I'm very nervous about this because I have a sneaking suspicion the worst tipper in rugby league may have turned things around.
In rugby league history, potentially.
Yes.
But all I will say is that one panellist will be leaving Face the Music with a new nickname today. Is all I will say. All I'm going to say.
Oh, no.
So if you're not up to speed, the person on the panel with the worst performance in their tips has to get up and dance for 5 seconds on camera to a song of my choosing.
Proudly brought to you by Sportsbet.
Proudly brought to you by Sportsbet, of course. Denon, cat's in the cradle for you. Here we go. You need a bit of help there? You good? Got to stay hydrated.
Yeah,
got to stay hydrated. Timmy, Guru, chicken dance for you in commemoration of your former team, now that you're a Panthers fan. Timmy, in honour of your beloved Greater Western Sydney Giants, their season, of course, tragically over on Friday night. Big sound for you, the Greater Western Sydney theme song. Matty, if it's a fourth week in a row, as we discussed on the show last week, Matty will be getting in an ice bath for 2 minutes whilst Vanilla Ice Baby plays. Because he simply has to learn. The standard of tipping that we walk past is the standard of tipping we accept. And there's got to be a line in the sand. So that's why we're doing that.
Yeah.
And if I've got to dance, I'll be dancing to Weird Al Yankovic's White and Nerdy. So that's in the highly unlikely event that I
Why that song? Doesn't seem to...
look, if the shoe fits, sometimes you just got to lean into it a little bit, mate. So anyway, we'll see how we go. All right, so the first game, Panthers 38, Storm 4. The over-under was 38.5 in this, and the line was 12.5 points. So, Denon, to get us started with, you got 2 points, 2 out of 4. Panthers and Panthers 13 plus. You missed out on the unders, and you had Crichton as your try scorer.
Shit.
I had exactly the same selections as you.
Okay.
Must be sitting too close to each other.
Yeah, maybe you're copying my notes.
Tip for the job you want, they say. So, be careful.
Today I'm getting fucking Game of Thrones right now. What the hell's going on?
So 2 out of 4 for both of us. Roo, against the odds, very impressive. 3 out of 4 points. You had the Panthers. You had a very bold prediction of Panthers 14 plus last week. And you went with Isaac Targo, but you changed it to Nathan Cleary. You were bullied by Timmy. The stewards had a look at that. They allowed that one to go through. Thank God he bullied you because you changed to Cleary and he scored. So 3 out of 4.
Stay patient, chicken dance fans. Stay patient out there.
He needed a bit of a leg up the Roo last weekend. He was down in the dumps a bit after the Roosters got knocked out. So I just made up some fake news, Trump style, and got him over the line with the Cleary play.
It was worth a shot, Timmy. It was worth a shot. You 2 out of 4 points as well here. You had the Panthers and the Panthers to cover, but then you went the unders and you had Sorensen to score, which didn't happen. And then Matty.
Notice how he actually has a proper guess, a bit of ticker about him, and he struggles.
Yep.
Oh,
That says something.
kick him arm while he's down.
Then we get to Matty. On the cusp of history, on the cusp of an ice bath here, potentially. Matty had the Panthers to cover, the overs, and Dylan Edwards. Round of applause, 4 out of 4.
Wow.
Stands up.
What a
Bucko.
turnaround.
Backs to the ice bath sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Stands up and 4 out of 4. If you had have gone the Matty multi there, $10.83 for your Friday night.
I tell you what, you'd be a brave man to back him after the shit he's
Very exactly. He couldn't blow it from here, could he?
Surely
He
not.
couldn't. Surely not. We'll move on to the next game. Bras 42, Waz 10. Line 5.5 points and the over under 41.5 points. Denon, Mr. Consistent, 2 from 4. You had the Broncos. You went Broncos 1 to 12. You're a little bit pensive there. That cost you a point, and you went the unders as well. That cost you a point. You had Jordan Ricky for a try though.
Yeah,
2 from 4.
Look, I'm the missionary tipping.
Yeah, yeah. Guru, keeping the chicken dance at bay for another week. Broncos 13 plus. Ricky, anytime. You had the unders. That cost you the point there.
What a try by Jordan Ricky too. Well-deserved stuff.
Really good stuff.
Good to see.
Timmy, Broncos, good start. Then you had the Warriors with the start, with the plus, wrong. Under, wrong. Reece Walsh, wrong. One from 3.
Uh-oh.
Goodness
I'm
me.
going to get done by that fucking forward pass. from Jordan. That's just going to cost me.
Yes!
Well, so yeah, potentially you're in a bad position to start with.
Work to do.
3 out of 4 for me. Broncos 13 plus over. No try for Walsh. Matty, moment of truth here. 4 from 4 in the first game. Broncos to cover. Overs. Herbie Farnworth any time. 4 from 4 again. Flawless performance from Matty.
Is that the greatest bounce back in rugby league history?
It is. The Matty multi there was paying $9.50.
Wow.
If you had have multied both of his together, that would have been paying $102.88.
See, get on the boys.
Yeah.
You've got to get on the boys.
Clearly hates ice baths, this bloke.
Oh my
Did you back it? Did you back your own selections? Oh, jeez. Well, there you go. So, our results for this week. Matty, formerly known as the Water Boy. Matty, the Ice Bath Dodger, 8 from 8. And it's a performance like that, tipping-wise, it gives me hope as a Tigers fan. Seeing someone who has struggled for so long, offered absolutely nothing, turn it around, and after getting a three-peat, he's turned it around and he's won. So one more year of pain for the Tigers, 2024, and then Premiership 2025.
Okay.
So something to look forward to there. Guru, 7 out of 8, despite some unsavoury conduct from Timmy. Myself, after an early scare, rallied to pick up a 5 out of 8. Another Elton Flatley for me, 2 weeks in a row. And wouldn't the Wallabies kill for an Elton Flatley at the moment?
Oh, no.
Absolutely. Denon, 4 out of 8. You did enough. That's all you got to do on prelim weekend. 4 out of 8.
Get the job done, baby.
Timmy, you tried a few things with Guru. You're a bit hairy off the back of the Queen being grand final win last Monday as well, and it's shown through in your tipping, mate. 3 out of 8.
Ooh.
So up you get. Many people thought the last time we'd hear the GWS song was last Friday
Oh,
night.
no. Bad
When the Giants ran
weekend
out.
for the Giants.
They're gone.
And their fans, too.
Well, this will give them a little pickup.
Oh, wow. Here we go,
Yep.
baby. In the middle
In
here.
front.
It's front and centre, baby.
Big sound.
Big stand.
All right. Here we go. Big sound from the west of the studio. He's thrown in a few more.
There we go.
Well done,
There
mate.
we go.
There you go. A changing in the guard.
Oh, that is great stuff. Who would have thought we're all good dancers? That's what I want to know.
Absolutely.
We
You're
had
the
a-
best to come. Don't worry about it.
we had a bit of a mash-up of obviously an AFL there and a cricket review system. I didn't know what the AFL review system is when they went upstairs, so I just merged the two.
I like it.
Pushing the boundaries of dancing. That's what we're all about here at Face the Music.
Yeah.
Plenty more of that to come. So well done, Matty. Outstanding comeback. Timmy, commiserations, mate.
I tell you what, he was winning our tipping all year, but what did I say? He's the office person of tipping. We get to the business end,
Yep.
falls apart.
Yep.
Falls apart.
Couple of bright lights goes to water.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
The big weekend's coming up, boys, so don't go the early crow.
Well, speaking of bright lights, let's have a look at finals. I'll let Matty. I know we would. We'll have a look at finals, the grand final weekend.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get from you your head-to-head. I'm going to get the line's only 3.5 points in this one. The over-under is 38.5 points. I also want to get a try scorer and your Clive Churchill medalist as well for this weekend.
So we're doing Smokies for the Clive Churchill.
Smokies. Because they've been so well backed, we don't want to see Nathan Cleary and Reece Walsh because that's what everyone's going with. Cleary's $3.50, Walsh is $6.50. So anyone apart from those two is what I want to see for your Clive Churchills. And we'll go from there. And the head price as well, the Panthers $1.65, Broncos $2.25. So what are you thinking? Head to head and all the rest.
I'm backing the boys all the way in here.
Yeah.
Broncos by 2 or more tries.
Broncos by 2 or more tries.
Holy
Broncos by 2 or
Jesus.
more tries.
Goodness me.
I'm going all the way, baby. Look, if I'm going to fucking go down, I'm going to go down in flames, Hammy.
Yep.
I'm not going to go down just like, oh, maybe not. I'm going down in flames, baby. Backing the boys all the way.
Yep. So 2 or more tries, just so I can clarify. Unconverted, converted. What are we thinking
Jesus.
there?
Well, that's
Am
tough.
I
Got
hearing
Adam
a
Reynolds.
Broncos-
You got to go converted.
I'll go.
Am I hearing a Broncos 13 plus here? That's sort of what
See, I'm not really. Can I go 2 or more tries? Can we just
Yeah,
can we
okay.
leave it there?
I'll give it to you.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
2 or more
Thank you.
tries. He's a bit
It's light
nervous.
burn, not a blaze. Go all in.
Oh, here we go. Trying to get me going further. Come on, boys. let's not fucking carry on here.
Sticks. And what about your over under 38.5 points?
38 and a half.
That's tough.
Ooh, that's tough.
They've got it right on, haven't they, this week, the traders?
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a reason why they're doing what they're doing.
Exactly.
I
Yep.
guess. I'm going overs.
Overs.
I'm
Yep.
I'm going all the way. I told you that, Hammy. I'm going all the way.
Like it.
I'm going down in a blaze of glory or ascending in a blaze of glory.
Love that. I love the full commitment to the blaze of glory. What about your try scorer?
Okay. Try scorer. Just need to get in the zone here. And are we still going Smokies or are we going like...
You can do what you like
Do what you
here,
like,
because if
okay.
you're going to play your shots on the Churchill,
Okay, try scorer. I'm going to go... who's on that left side? Herbie Farnworth.
Herbie, $3.15. And your Churchill?
Okay, and the Smokies. This is purely Smoky chat.
Yep.
Paddy Carrigan.
Paddy Carrigan, $14. There we go.
Thank you.
Campy all in on the Broncos. Guru.
I'm going to go Penrith head to head. What am I looking for? A margin or the line?
The line's 3.5 points.
I'll go Penrith to cover. My anytime try scorer, assuming he's playing this week, Timmy, I'm going to go Isaac Tunga.
$2.85.
Thank you.
Is he playing this week?
Timmy?
Let me double check the Daily Mail again.
And my smoky for a Clive will be Liam Martin.
Yeah. I don't mind you thinking there. $21.
Yep.
Was 26 yesterday. A bit of cash coming for Liam Martin.
Love that.
Timmy.
Panthers win. Panthers cover. Stephen Crichton, big game, big player.
Yep.
Anytime
250.
try scorer. And Isaiah Yeo, Churchill.
$14.
Unders.
Yep.
I
Light
like the
one.
critter shout.
Yeah.
It's good.
Steps up every time.
I'm going Penrith to cover. I'm going Critter as well. Game 100, final game. Always scores in big games, so he's definitely going to score, 100%. Toto, Clive Churchill.
Yes. Now,
And
let me get a quick price there. We were talking about him in the green room earlier. $51.
Yep.
Value there.
Goodness
Massive
me.
value.
Huge value. And
We're talking about...
unders.
Oh, sorry, he said unders.
Yep.
Apologies, I jumped in there,
Oh,
Matty. Because we're talking about the player of the series for New South Wales.
Yeah.
So he's got it in him. And I mean, last week, 3 tries. You could have said he won player of the match last week.
Very
Did
true.
I have an overs unders? I don't think I did.
I don't think you did.
I'll go unders.
Unders. Yep. Beautiful.
So am I the only one going overs?
I think so, because I'm going to go, I think it's going to be an all-timer. Panthers to win, Broncos to cover.
Jeez.
Or with the plus. Unders. Stephen Crichton, I think in game 100, you had a good stat as well. Last 3 grand finals, he scored.
And I completely forgot it when I sat down.
So
I'm very nervous
I'll
about
claim that one. So Crichton will score in his 4th consecutive grand final. And Liam Martin as well. I think I'm on board there. I think the just 80-minute player, grand final, good form, probably running at Mam as well. Sugar Cane reckons that's going to be the little chink in the Broncos' armour there.
Mam?
Yeah, defensively. So $21. There we go. Good luck, boys.
Oh, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Another week of Face of Music done and dusted, brought to you by our proud partners, Sportsbet. If you're going to have a punt, you do it with Sportsbet. That $51.
Yeah.
That's outrageous value, in
Yes.
my opinion.
Agree. Responsibly, of course.
Always responsibly. You win some, but you lose more. Thanks as always, Hammy.
No worries. See you next week. Good luck, Broncos.
Maybe you won't, though, if we win.
Mad Monday for Kempy.
Yep.
I might be sitting there.
I'll just ride the curtails of better men than me. I'll be the bloke that rocks up to men. Yeah, boys, we won. They'll be like, "What the fuck, bro? You haven't been here all year." Anyway, thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
No worries. See you next week.
Legend, bro.
Maybe.
Alrighty, now it is time for Team of the Week. At number 1, Reece Walsh. That play where he exploded out of the backfield, and I think we'll probably save it for when we do the review. But that, in my mind, that's as beautiful as you'll ever see on a rugby league field. Like the way he moved across the field, the way Kurt Capewell stepped out of that line and he just burst through the defensive line like that. Unbelievable. Now, if you look at his stats, obviously he threw out the interception. 6 line break assists in a prelim. 6 line break assists.
And for a kid his age to just bounce back from that intercept, that's almost rattle you for a career stuff.
I love you threw that post out there, Guru, after the game or during the game about that and saying not rattled by it, just went back to the well and nailed it every time.
He's got James Maloney-itis, Reece Walsh.
Well, like the next play, he hit short. They scored. Yep. It's like it's not only having the idea of, okay, he can just forget or move on from his errors. It's identifying it and going, okay, how can I take advantage of the error? That's what makes him special. Plenty of players can like move on from an error and go on to play a different game. How can I go back to the exact same edge against the exact same player, essentially in the exact same scenario, just a bit further up the field, and throw the pass that's going to take advantage of the guy that just took advantage of my poor pass? That's the genius of Reece Walsh.
And you have a look after that intercept. I think his next 3 touches were a line break assist, a try assist, and he got up to take that catch. Just unbelievable.
It's just crazy. He's a player where you'll cop a few errors. Like you'll go, you know what? Because he can not almost, but he essentially guarantees points. Like he essentially, at some point in the game, he will give you 6 to 12 points or 4 to 8, whatever you want to say. Whereas like a lot of other players, I mean, there's not very many players that can go, I can guarantee you 12 points.
And I think I've heard a lot of people over the last couple of days since that game. Yeah, but he's going to make 5 mistakes against the Panthers, going to lose the game for them. Sure, I remember we said that going into Origin.
Yeah.
Give you the hot tip, didn't make any mistakes and absolutely torched us.
And we talked about the concern heading in against the Storm. What do? He went in there and was just laser focused for the first 60 minutes. Walsh at fullback. At 2, Ryan To'o. I mean, we've already sung this guy's praises, but I can't remember a winger that's done this as consistently for over such a long period of time as To'o. You know, we've got guys like Brett Morris who were super, super consistent, and that's why he goes down as one of the greatest wingers of all time. But like this kind of like meter reader, tackle breaking, game affecting style, it's unique to To'o. It is unique to To'o.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken about this so much, it's almost boring to talk about. If you don't realise by now, I can't help you. He's a freak. He's just doing stuff that no one's ever done before.
Joey or someone in commentary was saying, like, has this bloke ever made a mistake? When was the last mistake you remembered him making? I'm like, beats me.
Yeah, like when was the last time you saw him get into contact and drop the ball?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little bit early, but I'll be shocked. If he stays injury-free, I'll be shocked if he doesn't go down as a top 5 winger all time, bar none. I'll be shocked.
It is going to be really interesting, because he is just putting his body through so much. So, it's now been 3 years on the trot, which is incredible. And, how old's Brian Toto?
He's like 24, 25.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe 25.
Like, he's still got another...
25?
25, yeah. So he's still got another 8-9 years of first grade left. It's going to be interesting to see how his body holds up, because what he's putting himself through is just unbelievable. And it's not like he does it just for Penrith. He does it for Samoa. He does it for New South Wales. He just does it everywhere. And he gets to finals and he gets better.
Oh, mate. And what's insane, or what's important, for To'o, he's probably at the best club for this to be, I guess, elongated, because we'll talk about it when we get into their review. One of their most underrated parts of the Penrith Panthers club, their ability to get guys back on the field or stay injury-free is almost second to none. I would love to get stats over the last 4 years. I swear they must be at number 1 for the least amount of injuries. And that's not a coincidence.
You know what the other thing is too, mate? When they do get injuries, their guys always come back earlier than expected.
Jerome Luai. Brian Toto's done it on a number of occasions. Cleary.
Isaac Tungo's done it on a number of... Cleary, they all come back earlier. Liam Martin, he was meant to be... I was told 3 weeks before Origin, Liam Martin wouldn't play the entire series. And he was back almost straight away. It's unbelievable what they're doing out there. And then you look at those front row forwards, what they've been through. When was the last time one of them missed a fucking game of football?
Or looked gassed or tired.
It's insane.
I just would love to... Because they have to be doing something different out there. Their sports science system has to be different to everyone else, because no one is coming close to them. It's been 4 years, boys. 4 years, and I'd assume, and I'd love to see the stats, NRL Physio probably has them, I'd assume they've had the least amount of injuries out of everyone. And what do we always say? We look at some of the top-tier clubs that have struggled recently, it's because they get decimated by injury. It is just
Like,
nothing short of
I'm
incredible.
trying to think of long-term injuries I've had. Taylor May comes to mind. Has there been anything else?
Well, he was their first ACL in like 5 years.
That's ridiculous. That's
So
outrageous.
there clearly is something, like maybe they're measuring their bodies correctly to have the right muscle mass on each person. I don't know. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but they've clearly got a program there that is outperforming every other program.
Yeah, and there is no other program that is putting bodies through more than what Penrith do.
It's crazy.
They're the hunted every single week.
Absolutely crazy. At number 3, Herbie Farnworth. This was the best game of Herbie Farnworth's career. He was nothing short of incredible. And I'm actually surprised at how little people are talking about his performance, because if you actually, well, everyone was watching obviously, but if you watched him closely, first of all, his 2 tries that he scored, the hands that he had to score those tries was phenomenal. It didn't get celebrated enough, but these were his stats for the game. 2 tries, 21 runs, 232 metres, 81 post-contact, 7 tackle breaks, 3 line breaks, 2 offloads, 9 tackles, only 1 miss, no errors.
Yeah, and there was, I think Timmy mentioned it pre-show, there was a Kurt Cable pass that went slightly forward, that if that goes through, it's another try and another line break.
Unbelievable.
You must have felt like a proud dad watching him. Seriously.
I will say this. I don't often feel guilty or bad for opinions that I've had, because this is my opinion. Like, it doesn't come from a place of malice or whatever. This is a show, we have to have opinions. But I honestly, when I said at the start of this year that I didn't think Farnworth was a top tier centre, that I didn't know whether he had that superstar next level in him, ever since he's gone on this crazy run, I've felt guilty about that opinion, because it's clearly wrong. Like, he is clearly a top tier centre, and he should win Dally M Centre of the Year, most likely with Critter. He is absolutely a superstar centre. Absolutely a superstar centre.
There is every chance he is signing of the year next year.
100%. 100%. Like, when you look at those stats, think about how much impact he had on that game for the Broncos. Yeah. So, I mean, I've never been happier to be proven wrong, but I've been proven so wrong that I almost feel bad about it. I'm like, geez, well, I do feel bad about it.
Isn't he just going to be, like, you think about this year for the Dolphins, like the amount of times they moved Hammer to centre to cover a spot, he answers every single question Wayne has.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. At 4, we debated, a bit unsure about this one. It was either Critter or it was Tungor. We just felt that he had 2 errors, and then he had that missed tackle that Olom in. It just pipped him, and that's what got Critter in the centre spot.
I disagreed, but...
You disagreed? Yeah, Guru had
But it
Tungor.
wasn't a hill I was going to die on. But, yeah.
I thought the missed tackle of Tungo's was enough to push Critter above him.
And I thought Critter's flick pass was fucking amazing.
Just on that as well, like when Tungo missed that tackle, like, wasn't it just bizarre to see a Penrith player miss a one-on-one?
Yeah,
So
just a one-on-one
weird.
tackle. And ironically, it's the one guy that hasn't played in ages, so it's just that game time.
Who's swapped sides for no apparent reason.
Coming off a pec
Crazy.
injury, he was like reaching out, got fended up right on the pec. It's like, yeah.
By Olam as well.
Yeah, by Ola.
Yeah.
But like if that happens to any other team, I go, oh yeah, shit happens. But Penrith, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What's going on?
It almost looked bizarre.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
You watch Tungo learn from it. He'll have the exact same situation with a centre this week coming, or a
It's
fullback.
Herbie.
It might
It'll be most likely Herbie versus Tungor.
Herbie versus
How
Tungo.
good.
It'll be Herbie. He'll go do the same thing and fend him, and he'll just fang himself with the legs and chop him down.
Yeah.
He'll learn from it.
At 5, Taruva. I mean, this kid. I'll take this off now. Jesus Christ.
How's your neck?
That's the thing. My neck's tight as fuck. When I played footy, you forget how strong they make your neck when you play footy, because you get a real thick neck. Then you bloody stop playing. Little weakling neck, little birdie neck, little head on it, big beak on it. Taruva, yeah. I mean, for me personally, because Preston, even if Preston was available for Rookie of the Year, but for me personally, Taruva's my Rookie of the Year.
He's been tremendous this year, hasn't he?
It's just flying under the radar too. A lot of people don't even know he's eligible.
Yeah, I was looking at the NRL put out like a hard index thing the other day, and like the entire back 3 was all Penrith.
Yeah.
For him to get in there when you got Edwards and Toto being the high volume guys they are is unbelievable.
Crazy year from Taruva. And also think about the pressure that's been put on him by every team, because every team is saying, don't kick it to Toto.
Yep.
So he's just getting pounded every week, just fucking kick after kick after kick.
It's like Toto walking into that team when teams don't kick at him.
Oh, mate. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Mam at 6. I thought this was one of the best games of Mam's career. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal on the weekend. Had some big hits in defence. He was electric in attack. I mean, the scary thing for Broncos fans, or the positive thing, is he's doing this in a prelim. In a prelim final, he's 21 years of age at 6. It's super, super impressive.
Yeah, and there's another guy we'll talk about very soon that's in a similar boat. But the last 2 preseasons, all we've spoken about with the Broncos has been, who's going to be 5'8", who's going to be hooker? We get to prelim finals and both play their best games.
Oh, mate, unbelievable. At 7, Cleary. What is there to say about this guy? We're witnessing greatness, and everyone that hates on Cleary, you're in the wrong, bruh. He is going to be in the great. He is on the trajectory to be great. Anything short of an injury, if he stays injury free, he is going to be one of the greatest 7s we've ever seen. Like, tell me a 25-year-old number 7 that's dominated the way he has over the last 4 years.
Let them hate Kempy. Their loss.
Oh, mate, just enjoy it. Like, I just don't know how you could sit here and say that he isn't one of the best 7s you've ever seen on a footy field. Like, sometimes I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, Guru. Sometimes I feel like it because I'm like, am I watching the same thing?
Talk about it. Oh, I just want to save it for next week.
Yeah, but like, am I watching the same bit of rugby league, Guru? Am I going crazy when I see some comments like, at any chance, like there were yarns going out at the middle of this year going, oh, is Cleary even that good because they won some games without him in the middle of the year? And you're going, what? What are we talking about? Oh my God. Anyway, so Cleary, we'll get to it further later on. At 8, Fisher Harris. If there is one player that I wish, not out of disrespect for New Zealand, I think it's great that he plays New Zealand, it's great for rugby league, but that I wish could play Origin so they could get appreciated by the wider audience, it's Fisher Harris. If Fisher Harris was playing Origin, he'd be one of the most beloved players in our game.
Yeah, I said something similar on social media on the way, and someone messaged me and goes, oh, that's not fair to say Fish can't get to that level because he doesn't play Origin. And you're right, it's not fair, but it's the reality of it.
It's just the truth.
Origin elevates guys to another level. It's where guys separate themselves from others. It's JT, Joey, Lockie. They all have these huge moments in Origin. Could you imagine how many big games Fisher Harris would have in Origin?
Imagine him going toe-to-toe with the Queensland pack, like hyper-aggressive, super mobile, essentially never been dominated. Like, I'm sure you can find games where they've lost where, he hasn't played as well. But I've never watched an 80-minute game of rugby league with Fisher Harris in it and gone, he got fucking dominated. But I've seen plenty where I've gone, Fisher Harris dominated.
I've never seen Fisher Harris get dominated in a sudden death game.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. He is so special. And so he's genuinely one of those guys that he is made for the Origin arena. Made for it. Could you imagine him in a Blues or a maroon jersey going out there, just going at it? It'd be unbelievable.
Yeah. We sit there all year and you have conversations about best prop in the game, who's had the best season. Payne Haas, has it been Adam Fanua-Blake, probably last year more so, Joe Tarpany. And Fisher Harris, he'd just be sitting there going, you for real? I'm like,
what do I got to do?
What more do I have to do?
Yeah.
How many more packs do I have to dominate if you'd be like, actually, James Fisher Harris?
And I think what I love about Fisher Harris is, statistically, is he as close to, say, an Adam Fanua-Blake or a Payne Haas? No. But there's only one stat that matters, and it's winning comps. Yep. And also, he's such a good example of there's so much more to rugby league than things we can measure on stats. Yep. It's all the little things. It's the big play when your team needs it. It's the line speed when your team needs it. It's the huge hit. It's the line run. It's the supporting your front row partner. That's the things Fisher Harris does.
I'm sure you'll be able to relate to it from your career, I imagine, in the NRL, when you're stepping on the field with the toughest guy on the field, and you had Webke, centre receiver, changes everything.
Oh, absolutely. And it doesn't get spoken about enough because I understand it's a wider audience that we're trying to get the game to. But these forward packs, they're not in those dressing rooms going, okay, hopefully we beat these other guys, and guys, just go out and do your job and hopefully we'll be better. They're talking like, let's fucking dominate these guys. Like, fuck this other forward pack. They said this. Like, it's rugby league.
You know what I love about their forward pack too? As soon as Nelson Solomona pushed Nathan Cleary on that game, the pack went, okay,
yeah,
get your fucking hands off our halfback. Yep. Coming for you.
Loved it.
And we saw Fisher Harris, obviously, we saw last week, I should say, Payne Haas get the 3-2-1 in his battle with Adam Fanua-Blake. This week, we can see Payne Haas go up against James Fisher Harris. Oof. And if Panthers do come out and dust him, Fisher Harris dominates, to be like, just another point of, I'm the man.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, yeah, if you can somehow dominate a guy as incredibly gifted as Payne Haas, it's almost like, okay, you win. Like, that's the end boss.
If he does it, it's like game over. He's the best prop in the game.
It's like just unbelievable. At 9, Walters. If you had said to me heading into the grand final that Walters was going to be the best 9 of the prelim week, you would have been laughed out of a room. You would have been laughed out of rugby league. And yet here we are, he's been one of the better nines of the final series, let alone of the prelim week. His journey, his story, and also, massive raps to Kevy because it's obviously nowhere near on the level of Ivan Cleary and Nathan Cleary. But I will say you could make the argument it was harder for Kevy because Cleary was Cleary. Like coming through, he debuted at 18. You always knew he was going to be a really good 7. Kevy has backed in Walters out of position and a player that couldn't even get a start, no disrespect, but at the Tigers, couldn't get a start at the Storm, has come to the Broncos, turned him into a 9, now they're in a grand final. That's a gutsy call from a dad and a coach.
And I think Kev deserves even more credit because, as you just said, a guy playing out of position. I said it last year. I think he's always been a 9. I think other coaches have played him out of position, and Kev's identified where he should be and has backed him in. And look what he's got out of him.
Doesn't it feel like almost a lifetime ago where we watched the trial and we said Walters was probably the best 9, but we were so hesitant to commit to that because you've got the added pressure of being the son. You've got all of the noise around, he's only getting selected for that. I mean, it's pretty quiet now.
But there was 2 years before that, he was playing for Tigers New South Wales Cup, playing hooker, and you could see it there.
Yeah.
Full credit to Kevin, Billy.
And we've got the preliminary final team of the week, and you mentioned during pre-season, and the questions around the Broncos were, Ezra Mam, is he the right number 6? How deep can we go with Ezra at 6? Who's the number 9 for the Broncos? Reece Walsh, we know he's going to be a superstar. We know he's a freak, but can he do it on the big stage? Can he do it in finals football? Team of the week, you're 1, you're 6, and you're 9, and you'd have Reynolds there as well, except Cleary put on a freak show.
Yeah.
It could have been the whole Broncos spine.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Good point.
You know what's incredible too? You look at that 1 to 7 outside of Cleary. Could be wrong, but every single one of those players wasn't playing first grade 5 years ago.
Yeah, wow, that's young. That is young. Another thing with Walters too, even us at the start of this year were saying, maybe Smoothie because he's played more 9. Moser maybe by the end of the year if he develops quicker than we think he is. And yet Walters has locked that spot down, locked it down.
I cannot believe the Blake Moser name. It hasn't been mentioned this year because they haven't needed it. And that's full credit to Billy Walters without taking anything away from Moser. But I thought we'd be getting to post-origin going, get him in.
Well, I mean, Smoothie's been really good for the last few weeks, so no knock on him, and he may still be that 14 next year. But at the moment, it's almost set up the perfect pathway for Moser because he can come in as a 14. If Smoothie, loses that spot, maybe he won't. As I said, he's been quite good. But you don't want to throw Moser in the deep end and go, mate, you're the number 9 for 80 minutes each week. So it actually might be the good. And I think Walters, he's like 27, 28 now. So maybe in 2 or 3 years, that is the perfect time to go, all right, Moses, you're the guy. At 10, Haas. Look, I'm not sure if he did or he didn't read the papers or watch some videos, but it definitely looked like a bloke that was reading headlines saying that Adam Blake is a better front rower than he is. He was a monster on the weekend.
Bloke's a genuine maniac. And what he's able to do and what he's capable of, it doesn't add up.
When he made that break and he was moving at that speed, when have we seen a bloke that big move like that? We're just getting used to it. We're taking it for granted. That's outrageous what he did.
Yeah, we touched on those Clive Churchill tips before, and I didn't have it in me to back he's a New South Welshman playing for a Queensland club, but picking a bloke from a Queensland club for it. But Payne Haas at $12. I know you mentioned Pat Carrier, but Payne Haas is going to go out there, play 65, 70 minutes, running for 200 plus metres. If the Broncos get up, that's good value.
Yeah. Yeah, mate, he is such an incredible athlete. At number 11, Martin, the dog. He is seriously. It's almost like he's on a leash before he gets let on. Like Ivan Cleary runs him out. It's like, fucking chill out, Martin. And he's like, "Rah!" And then he just goes shrink, and he just goes. Zoof. That's what it's like. All the big games. Am I wrong? He's a fucking terrier. He's a maniac, Liam Martin, and I absolutely love it. Another big game from Martin in a big game.
Oh, you've never been more right. Fucking unreal. Yeah, he is the definition. Him, Fish, Leotard, they are the definition of big game players.
They love it.
Yeah.
They fucking love it. And what I love about all three of them, it's that old school good toughness. It's not the silly, and I know some people go, they're grubs and blah, blah. But look, in rugby league, they're not that grubby. They are just tough as fuck. And they might get in the niggle here or there, but they win the battle in smart ways, not in dumb ways.
Yeah, and they're also like these blokes are not out there going after halfbacks. They'll go after the biggest motherfucker in your. You saw them do it with Nass on the weekend.
Yeah, like so let's say there's a push and shove. Every single time, Penrith will go, okay, sweet. We're going to sort it out with big plays. They very rarely go, all right, I'm going to late shot you and swing an arm or whatever. Now, that's not to say they don't have it in them. This is rugby league. Sometimes that is just a part of it. But that's what's so impressive about the Penrith Panthers is that they're so disciplined. They're like disciplined warriors. They're maniacs, but they just keep it just before that line that crosses it most times.
It's going to be so interesting. Like this time last year, we were sitting here talking about Junior, Regan Campbell-Gillard, this huge Parramatta pack, and they got out there and you just went, they're just not even close to this level.
Yeah, could we be having the same conversation? Every chance, really.
Every chance.
And I love what you mentioned about them being just old school. Their pack, Kempy, and in particular the blokes you mentioned, like Leota, Fisher-Harris, Liam Martin, typifies it. There's no song and dance about them. Like they go out there week in, week out, they dominate every pack that comes at them, and there's no like smacking their chest after a hit or standing over the top and yelling at blokes. Which I don't mind. Like I quite enjoy the excitement of blokes getting G'd up when they put on a shot. But I also love the old school mentality of we don't need to song and dance and carry on like Pelicans when we do it. Look, we know we're the best.
Yeah.
You know that. We win. We get the result.
Yep. And we'll let our actions do the talking.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. It's so good to watch. At 12, Catewell. What a resurgence for Catewell this season has been. There was even a period this year I was like, ooh, maybe you move Catewell into the middle. And he is just warmed into the season so unbelievably well. And if you ever need an example of how important experience is, Catewell's the guy. Okay, maybe is he the barnstorming, huge back rower that seems to be, I guess, a trend to a degree? No, maybe not. But just really intelligent back rower that knows when to take the tough carry, knows when to pass it, knows when to step aside. Like, you could make the argument he's one of the smartest back rowers in the comp. I really do think his footy smarts doesn't get appreciated as much as it probably should. And I think it's encapsulated in that play with Reece Walsh. By all rights, he should have got that ball. He should have been saying, give it, give it, give it. To have the intelligence to think so quickly, to realise Reece Walsh is off your right shoulder 5 metres behind you, screaming onto it to take the step outside, that's a smart play that doesn't get appreciated. How often would you see the back rower step into that pass and then there's a whole fucking knock-on?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. He's obviously a former Panther. Was he there for that first premiership? He was definitely there for the one they lost. Was he there for the one they won too?
Yeah, he won the premiership.
Yeah. So, interesting times there, Kurt Cable.
Yeah. Will it be Martin versus Capewell? So Martin...
Yeah.
It will be?
Yeah.
Oh, stop it. That is
How good is
so
that?
good. You've got the footy smarts, gets through a lot of work versus the absolute mongrel just battling each other.
Have fun with that, Kurt.
Oh, far out. Oh, man, that's good. Okay, at 13, Isaiah Yeo. Now, I asked Matty to check this for me because I was just getting off vibe, Guru. It was all vibe. But I was like, I feel like Yo's past, back end of the season, he's just thought run first and then pass second. And I felt like there was a period at the start and maybe at the middle where he was maybe just leaning a little too heavily into that passing. Almost similar-ish to the way Victor Radley got for a period there where they were just worried about passing. So I don't know whether it's true. I actually haven't even read these stats yet. So first 10 rounds, he went over 150 metres 5 times and over 200 metres twice. Last 8 rounds, he's gone over 150 metres 6 times and over 190 metres 4 times. So I'd assume that suggests that he's running the ball more. Which is, it's really interesting to see that he's made that slight adjustment to his game to just to be a ball runner at 13. And I think that's actually helped him quite a bit.
He just picks his moments so well, doesn't he? He's just got a total understanding of every moment. I think it's underrated in their game, and I think he's the best at it in rugby league. The way that he's able to just wedge in between the second marker and the A defender, it just turns an entire set on its head. Straight away, Penrith go, yep, good. We've won this set now.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a conscious effort from Ivan Cleary and Isaiah Yeo, that middle section of the year where we all sort of agree with passing way too much, and sort of early origin this season, series I should say, we thought the same, that he was passing too often. He got a couple of rests out the year, but played big minutes just about every game he played throughout the entire year. I wonder if they were saying, mate, business end of the season, that's when we need you best. Rely heavily on passing more, just get yourself through, and then back end of the year, back to just run first mentality.
Yeah.
But maybe not, but looking at the numbers, very every chance.
Yeah, and even just the way he's playing, I just think the style of hit up, he's not like constantly looking out to his right or left to see the pass. He's just running the ball straight away. And then if he gets to the line and it looks like something's kind of on, he may decide to do it. And it's only a small tweak. It's not like a huge difference. But I do think there has been a slight tweak in his game this year.
And we've seen it happen with a bunch of these. With the evolution of the ball playing and the passing lock forward, we see a lot of them. The same thing happened to Cam Murray at stages this year where it just goes into that pass first, run second mentality and forgetting that at the end of the day, you're a ball running forward who can pass. Like, never forget that you're a ball runner first.
And that balance must be so hard because if you just ball run all the time, you're going to be gassed to get in position for the ball playing. But if you worry too much about not being in position, you'll never ball run. So it's really, really tough.
It's a balance that, I think Jake Trbojevic has really struggled with it over the last few years.
Yeah.
Finding that balance.
Oh, remember when he was unbelievable ball player?
Yep.
And then I personally think Jake Trbojevic it's due to his own toughness that's got him through to where he is today. Because I do think he was a little bit mismanaged for a period there in his career where he was just doing all the dog's work. And it's just like, bro, why have you got this silky ball player just working his dick off every game? And he's got no energy in attack to do the things we know he can do.
But then it almost felt like, to me, Jake pushed it too far the other way for a period of time.
For sure. How interesting would Jake Trbojevich's career be at a club that, and Manly's been okay, but like a top-tier club? I wonder, would he be Isaiah Yeo heights at 13, or would he be a front rower? Be interesting. Okay, at 14, Carrigan. I thought he was absolutely outstanding for the period he's on. We'll talk about it in the review, but getting taken off at the 50th minute mark and not going back on, wow, that's ballsy from Kevy Walters. 15, Sorensen, just an unsung hero, seriously. In a team full of stars, this guy is probably in the top 5 players nearly every week. Like, that's how good he's been for them. And yet you wouldn't even, and it's not disrespectful, it's like saying how good he is, but you wouldn't put him in the top 5 stars. Not even like Cleary, Luai, Edwards now, Critter, To'o, Fisher-Harris, Leota, Martin. You know what I mean? Like, if you went down the list of stars, he probably would, but when you actually look at their performances, very rarely is he outside the top 5 when he plays.
Yeah, he has been tremendous. And it wasn't that long ago that he was, the best bench player in rugby league.
Yeah.
And
as a middle forward.
As a middle forward. And even when he moved to the back row, it felt like a Band-Aid for a couple of weeks. And he just, I still fully expected him this year to go back to the bench as we got to finals.
Well, we thought Hosking was going to get that spot.
Yeah. And he just has, they're still carrying Luke Garner. I believe Hosking is injured at the moment, but they've still got Garner that they could play there if they wanted to use Sorensen as middle forward, and they're just going, no, we're good.
Yeah, bad decision by Hoskins going to the Panthers. He could have been at the Broncos in a grand final.
Not a bad call from Luke Garner.
Yeah, fuck. Imagine if he gets in a grand final. Holy heckers. Okay, Sorensen, Gunn, another guy. Could he be the most unsung hero in rugby league? Mitch Kenny.
I need to put a public apology out to Mitch Kenny. I was the one that was fucking parading all year about how Sonny Luke was going to be so important to this side because Kenny simply couldn't do the job. Egg all over my face. He has been tremendous, Mitch Kenny, and I was told this week that Ivan Cleary has said to him, that 9 jersey is yours. You've earned it now. It's yours.
Mate, think about how they lost Appy Coruscant. This guy steps in. There is an argument to be made this Panther side is better than all 3 last years. He's been the 9 the whole time, and not a single word has been said about it.
And when they've got more exciting 9s in, it looks awful.
Yeah.
He's the perfect example, something you say over and over, Kempy, about the Penrith Panthers, is that every player just knows their role so perfectly. He's the perfect example of it, Kenny. He never overplays his hand. Like, you see, as a number 9 in rugby league, you see like broken markers or a bit of space. We saw Sonny Luke do it, a stack in the minutes he's played this season. You just, everything in your body says, run, run, run. Kenny's like, my job is to get good, clean service to Cleary and Luai whenever they want it. Not to say he doesn't run when he needs to and when the opportunity's there, but he has that restraint to, I've got these superstars outside me. I need to tackle my ass off. Even the running thing, just like, played, 80 on the weekend, preserve my energy, get through the minutes. I don't need to be running and gassing myself. He's so disciplined in his role.
So disciplined. And what I love about his role, it's almost similar-ish to like a good ref. The better a ref, the less you see them. Like, the less you notice them because you're just, the game is going, because their role as a ref is to make the game as enjoyable as possible. It's to rule the game so it's as enjoyable as possible, and obviously within the rules. And Kenny's role is similar. As I've got Nathan Cleary, one of the greatest sevens we've ever seen at Clubland. My role is simply to make him look as good as he possibly can. And he does it every single week.
It's really interesting, like the 2 9s we've ended up with in this grand final. And I'm just going completely off the dome, but I reckon they would be like the cheapest hookers that have ever been in a grand final, value-wise.
They'd be up there.
I can, hands down, they'd have to be.
Surely.
Yeah.
They'd be up
Great
there,
call.
yeah. Because you think
The value you're getting out of like whatever you'd be paying Walter, and that's the beauty of Mitch Kenny as well. He's going to be a 2-3 time premiership winner, whatever it might be. He's probably never going to play a game of rep football. He's going to just give good service, and he's never going to miss a tackle in the middle. And what, you're going to pay him 4s at max, 5?
Not even
Max.
that. Mate, he'd be on 300, I reckon.
I can imagine this year he'd be around that 2 to 250.
Yeah.
To come in and do what he's done this year, well, there'll be some extension going on, an upgrade, but even so, they're still going to pay him a ton more than sort of 350.
And the vibe I always get is that he is a fantastic guy around training
for
and
sure.
around stuff. Yeah.
For sure. I think as well, one of his most unsung parts of his games is his defence. He's probably, I'm trying to think of the 9s in the comp. When you talk about who is the best defensive 9 in the comp, he'd have to be in the top 3. He'd have to be in the top 3. He's a 9 that I'd be very, very confident there's not a single team playing the Panthers that see him as a spot through the ruck. And doesn't that I guess show you how focused they are on defence in certain positions? It's reminiscent of like Wayne, how he used to balance his sides really well, where one side would be a good attacking, other side would be good defensive. But Kenny, Reece Robson maybe defensively. I mean, Kenny's probably the best defensive 9 in the comp. And again, we never really...
Cookie's very good defensively.
Cookie's good defensively, but I'd probably have Kenny as number 1. And that's half the game. That's half of the game, and it never really gets spoken about that much. So, yeah, look, I'm not sure if he is number 1 statistically, but he would at least be top 3 defensive number 9s in the comp. Whereas when we talk about 9s, we're always usually talking about their attack, like what they offer in attack, what they can do in attack. So, and at number 17, we've already spoken about him, but Leota, another guy that when we talk about knowing your role and knowing what you can offer that a lot of people can't offer, Leota fills that role perfectly.
Some of the images of him and Fisher Harris I saw on the weekend, even like them just walking into training and shit, they're always side by side. And I said on the weekend, I stand by, I think they are heading into that area of Webke, 7-a-Seaber. I think they are.
How could you not?
They could have 3 premierships on the trot, and they've already got 4 grand finals on the trot. That's unheard of.
It's unbelievable. It is insane.
They're not even 30 yet.
They're nowhere near 30.
They're
I think the oldest one's 27 or 28.
Yeah.
This might not be their best footy.
It's seriously.
And once again, neither of them play State of Origin. You're going to get them always at a good... Like, your front row, it's going to be the best value front row of all time, like salary cap-wise.
Yeah, and you're never going to get the bank broken like a Payne Haas or a Fanua Blake. It's a bloody good front row. Like, it is... You can make the argument it's the most underappreciated front row that, like, to win... If they win 3 in a row, and if you were to bring up, I'm going to put that pair against, the best to ever do it, a lot of people would scoff immediately at you. You'd be like, but look at the stats here. We're talking about, they've been the front row in the last 4 grand finals in a row.
Stats don't tell the full story, but they tell a pretty damn good one.
Yeah. And the one stat that matters is winning premierships.
Yeah, they win heaps.
Oh, man. Okay, now it's time for Hungriest Player of the Week. Thanks to Menulog. Make sure... Menulog, order it for the grand final, get a feed, get your mates around, grab a big feed, because you get free delivery when you spend $15 or more. The code and the winner of Hungriest Player for the prelim final is Nathan Cleary. That is right. Cleary is the Hungriest Player of the Week. We spoke about it for a little bit earlier, but his ability to stay ice cold in games is almost second to none. His ability to... We have to remember, he was up against halves in Munster and Hughes. We're not talking about halves that are lucky to be there. We're talking about 2 of the best halves in the competition. And yet Cleary, unfortunately for Storm fans, he looked a step above everyone on that footy field on the weekend. His ability to control games, his ability to make the right decisions, stay calm when they're under pressure. His game was absolutely incredible. And he's, at the moment for me, so far, he is the MVP of the final series, and it will probably come down to the the final game to see who, I guess, gets it. But right now, he's fucking $1.50 favourite. Like that's how confident I am that
Mate,
Cleary.
if you're giving me $1.50, I'm swallowing that.
That's how confident I am that Cleary is going to, whether they win or lose in the grand final, I don't think Cleary's going to have a bad game.
I'm loading on a beak bet on that one.
$1.50?
Thanks for
You
coming.
know.
What are your odds? $1.20?
Yeah, at least. Yeah, I mate.
Okay. Maybe
He
it's my
is just
Broncos bias talking.
miles ahead of everyone at the moment. And that's the thing that makes it so exciting this weekend. If you said to me you have to put one halfback up against him, it's Adam Reynolds. Mm-hmm. I cannot wait to watch that matchup. And then, neither's got the excuse that they don't have the pack. You got the two best packs in the competition.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be unreal.
You're right. That's a really good point. Neither team has any excuses heading into this game.
Yep.
Full strength. Their packs are both hectic. It is genuinely, when you look at it on paper, and I know like Panthers fans may disagree, and maybe it is my Broncos bias talking. If Broncos play the best they can play, this should be an absolute incredible standard game of football.
It's really interesting, and I think Matty's got the numbers, but I think from memory, Brisbane haven't played at a core stadium since like round 9 last year, right? But who knows a core stadium better than anyone in this competition? Yeah. Adam Reynolds.
Reno.
So interesting.
Mate, and I wonder, do you reckon... Oh, we'll get to it in the preview. So the code is Cleary. Use code Cleary when you spend $15 more for free delivery. Also, actually, before I forget, a massive thank you to everyone who did this survey last week. We'll leave the survey in the show notes. We had thousands of people do it. That is unbelievable. Thank you so much. You don't understand how important that is to the show, because it just gives us information to know what you like, what you don't like. It helps so much. So thank you everyone that did this survey, and we'll make sure to obviously we'll extend it 1 week in regards to the winning of the $500 gift cards, but we will get that sorted within the next probably 4 or 5 days.
What was my flog rating out of 10? How did I go?
I think it broke the whole survey. I think it broke the survey, bro.
Broke the internet.
Yeah, people kept clicking on it. They thought it was a DDoS attack. It was just Guru getting called a flog. All right, Telstra Footy Country Tour. Telstra, in collaboration with the NRL, are hosting the NRL Telstra Footy Country Tour, which is well underway. Former and current NRL legends are visiting remote and regional communities with coaching clinics, club gala days, and prized photo ops with trophies. The tour has been going through Queensland, Victoria and New South Wales during this final series, finishing at the 2023 Grand Final at Accor Stadium. The link for more information of where they will be going and how to register is in the show notes. A massive thank you to Telstra for partnering with the show, and a massive thank you to Telstra in general for being such a big supporter of rugby league for so long. Owning my own business, I understand, I guess, making these decisions to support certain things is a really big one. Obviously, we're not as big as Telstra, but Telstra has been a part of rugby league forever, and I think they deserve a massive rap for that. And also, I'm a Telstra man. Guru, did you know that?
I think you're selling yourself short. I reckon you got Telstra covered.
Well, tell that to my bank account.
Geez, you'd be doing all right if you can eclipse Telstra at any point.
Oh, my. Guru, there's more to life than building big businesses. You know what? I've always thought about how big can Bloke get, but I don't know if I've got it in me to make it that big. You know what I mean? All that stress involved.
So you're saying you'll stop when you eclipse Telstra? That's it. That's the line.
No, I just think that I'm going to get conspiratorial, guys.
Oh, I love that.
It has been 40 minutes. I was waiting for it.
But I honestly think that there's only a certain amount of money you should make before it gets into areas of you start dealing with stuff that's not ethically cool. You know what I mean? You start having to deal with for example, let's say Bloke was worth $1 billion. Let's just never will be, because I'm going to get out of here before then. But it's think about how much responsibility that is. Think about how many lives you have to make sure are taken care of, how many things that could go wrong that aren't on your watch. There is so much responsibility that comes with money like that. Whereas, if I just got enough money to never have to work again, see ya.
Head to the beach, put the feet up.
I'll always do Bloke podcast. But I would... if I got enough money to make sure my family and everything, we could not work again for our lives, I'll just do the podcast and that'd be it. What a good life that'd be. Could you imagine? Not having to worry about money and just doing a podcast about rugby league.
I can imagine, and I plan to be here.
But that was when people try to say to me, how big do you want this to be? And do you want to take over this and that? And rah, rah. I'm like, I just want to talk about rugby league and chill out with my family, bro. I don't want to worry about all that other stuff.
Maybe own a little pad in Italy on the Amalfi Coast.
Yeah, little tiny house little hut in the Amalfi Coast. Go there, tan myself, come back when the season rolls in, and then just talk rugby league. I'll always do this no matter what. I do know that. Like, I might take a break, but I'll always do the podcast because I obviously enjoy it. Not enjoy your company, but I enjoy the podcast.
Now, you've got a grand final to win this week. Can we get our head in the fucking game?
Oh, sorry. I thought people would want to know about how I feel about things, but that's all right. Who cares? No one ever
Snap
asks
me out
that.
of his daydream for a minute.
Okay, we got to talk about it really quick. Well, we don't have to, but we're going to. Rugby Australia went down to 40-6 overnight to the Wales. We beat Georgia and we lost to Fiji. I think it's like 60 years or whatever since we lost to Fiji or something. Granted, Fiji have quite a good side. I just wanted to talk quickly about this because it is, Australia and sport. And I'm actually of the mind that I like when rugby's going well in this country. I'm not a zero-sum guy where I'm like, yeah, screw rugby. We don't want it to go well. Obviously, I always want NRL to go better, but I like rugby to go well. Did you guys get a chance to go over this game at all, or the yarn around it? Because there's a lot of yarn around it that I would love to talk about.
Yeah, a little bit. I went to school with a lot of guys that play Union and got a lot of mates that are very keen Union fans, and it's group chats were pretty grim this morning.
Did Wales score, or was it 13 penalty goals?
They scored 3 tries.
Did they?
For 40 points, so
Jeez.
there was a number of penalty goals in
That's
there.
all right. Take 3.
Yeah.
3's a big game. I
lot,
like real stuff. I want to talk about the Eddie Jones situation, though. So he hasn't denied that he spoke to Japan before the World Cup. And the report from Sydney Morning Herald was that he had an interview with Japan before the World Cup. So, I don't know, 2 weeks, whatever it is, just close to before the World Cup started. Now, he has come out and said, basically, when he gets asked that question, he said, I can't believe you're questioning my commitment to Australia, and I've worked tirelessly to make this happen. But I have to say, first of all, I'm getting conspiracy-minded again. But I feel like, and look, if you are a rugby league savant, tune out of the podcast right now, because I don't know shit about rugby. This is just a random league fan's opinion. It doesn't hold any weight whatsoever. But as an Australia fan, I kind of feel like Eddie Jones, it seems like he's almost setting the situation up to get sacked so that he can go and coach Japan. Because after the last game, he was like, yeah, we'll get reviewed, and if Australia don't want me to be coach, then blah, blah. And that's not the chat I want to hear about a guy that only 2 weeks ago was talking about picking all the young players because he's building towards a future. It seems weird that this got leaked as well, because who knew about, if it's true that he did get interviewed, there's only 2 people that really knew about it. And why would Japan leak that a couple of weeks before? So I put my tinfoil hat on and I go, did Eddie's team leak that? Again, I have no evidence at all for that, but I just don't like the fact that an Australian coach that before the World Cup was talking about rebuilding everything, now it's getting revealed that he may have been talking to another country about coaching them. And after they lose, he's going, well, if we get reviewed and they don't want me here, I won't be here. It's like, is that what a bloke should be saying that's apparently building the next generation of rugby players?
Yeah, the last 6 weeks from Eddie has been very cowboy. It's been wild to watch it.
I said on the Morning Glory with Matty Johns a few weeks ago, so this isn't hindsight hero. I said, is everyone getting hoodwinked by the mystique around Eddie Jones? This whole, he's got a plan. He's this, quirky genius that has a plan. I didn't buy into it. And the whole, the press conference about, you journos don't want us to win. I felt like that was just all misdirection to create this environment that he's got something up his sleeve. But we've been not good for a long time now. In Australia, of course the players on the field have to take responsibility. Of course they do. But if you listen to this podcast for any long period of time, how often do we talk about if something isn't run well, doesn't matter what players you have in place. These players have been let down, in my opinion, not picking leaders in that squad to go over there and help them out. They're absolutely not in the best environment. I think huge sweeping changes need to happen to Australia Rugby Union. And I think that, unfortunately, it looks like Eddie Jones isn't going to be there for the long run. And also, it's getting to the point where, can you trust that he's making the right calls for the long run? I don't know.
Yeah, well, we've got a Rugby Union World Cup here in 4 years. And we've got to somehow sort out 20 years of shit fuckery in 4 years. And I've got no idea how we're going to do it.
Timmy?
On the immediate situation, not really. I'd be lying if I said I'd followed the World Cup closely. Track the Wallabies results, of course. And I'm a bit like you, Kempy. I don't hold a big spot in my heart or interest for rugby the last sort of half a decade. But, I've played union. I played a game of union this season and played a little bit growing up and supported a little bit when I was younger. And I just think in terms of the big picture, I've still got mates who like union and people who do follow it very closely. In terms of Australian rugby, they're just in such a difficult position because Rugby Australia are competing with Rugby League, they're competing with Aussie rules, and because they're national games where they can tweak rules to the appetite of the fans and what the fans want, it puts you in a great position to adapt. Rugby Union Australia cannot do that because everything's dictated by the ARU, the international game, and Rugby Union is so successful overseas, internationally. Australia can't just change rules around here to suit us and to suit what the fans want and compete with Rugby League and Aussie rules because it's such big international success. So, Australian footy fans want running rugby, exciting points, that sort of stuff. They can't change anything because if they do that domestically, well, then they're going to be screwed when it comes to the international stage. But I don't see their way out of this, really. But again, there's people a hell of a lot more qualified to talk about than I am. But that's just a glaring issue that I think is pretty hard to ignore.
Yeah, I remember like when I was a teenager, when I was a kid, like all the good rugby league players that were my age or around about my age, they would all go to Matraville Sports High or Endeavour High or one of those schools around here. Mate, you watch all these kids now that are coming through for the Roosters, for South. They're all getting put into these private schools now. Like, it used to be a big thing. The Roosters would take them away from the private schools, for example, and send them to Maddo Sports, same as South Sydney. Whereas now, and this is obviously the small circle I live in Sydney, but you look at all these guys that are now starting to debut, they're all coming from Waverley, Scots, Newington. So you've got, in Sydney at least, which is all I can talk about, is the competition down here. You go and watch these first 15 teams, and all the best players are league players. They're all signed up to league players, and the leagues clubs know they're going to get in less trouble if they're at a private school. So they put them in there. So you get all the foundations just get pulled from under them by the time they get there. And now we hear at a World Cup, and everyone's going, okay, well, you need to go sign all the rugby league players.
Yeah.
Okay, Band-Aid, it's not going to solve the problems.
No, not at all.
It's tough. It's like the Shoot Shield gets mad crowds and awesome support, and there's plenty of points scored. The grassroots numbers in rugby union, and particularly in sort of Sydney as an example, there are a lot of numbers, a lot of people still playing, and they're quite good, but it's just not filtering through to the top, is it?
I think that, and then as we've made extremely clear, guys, we don't know anywhere near as much about rugby union, so we are happy to be wrong. But I think radical decisions have to be made. This 1 foot in, 1 foot out, tiptoeing, I don't know if it's the right direction going forward. For example, and please, guys, this is probably the dumbest thing ever said. Is there a chance or a world or an idea where we could go, okay, maybe we do make rugby union more exciting in Australia to get the participation in professional rugby union more. So maybe there are some slight rule changes to international rugby union. Yes, we will get towed up as international, like Australia will get towed up. But the thing is, we already suck. You know what I mean? We're already, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to players. As I said, I don't think it's the players' fault. I think it's the system that's been created. I think that there are talented guys there that are just in poor systems. But are we not already not good? So why not take the longer approach of let's build the game back up in Australia, take some hits internationally, but hopefully in the long run the game actually survives. Because right now we're dwindling down to a game literally not surviving in the country. Which I know it sounds hyperbolic, but right now, the professional rugby union in Australia, it's not even close to financially viable.
It's happened very quickly as well because 10, probably more 15, 20 years ago, I suppose, actually, it was thriving. Like the Super Rugby was huge, the support for Brumbies, the Waratahs, all that, it was big, so it's happened quickly.
It's happened really quickly. Like, I wasn't even a league fan or a union fan, but I remember all the big stars from Wallabies when I was younger. And I understand that's when we had a success. Anyway, we'll move on from it, guys. I just want to be really clear, though, like, we aren't experts in this, so please, matter of fact, please educate us in the comments section of what you think the right decisions are going forward. But it is looking super, super dire. We're in like the last gas, honestly.
Well, when you can compare it to the feeling around 2003 when we last had the World Cup here, like, I'm not a huge union person myself, but that was unbelievably good.
Yeah.
It was such a good time. It was like the Olympics all over again. It was great.
The hype was incredible around it.
You know what's crazy? I would love to get and I know it's different time slots. I would love to get the ratings for the Matildas compared to the ratings for the Rugby Union Australian side. And I know that the Matildas obviously would be way bigger. It was a home World Cup final, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But to show you how dire the situation is right now.
Yeah, I don't think the Wallabies would want to see those numbers.
You know, that's dire.
Yep.
And also, who gets more funding, the women's soccer or rugby union? You'd have to assume rugby union don't they? And yet they've managed to capture the imagination. Now, I get it, guys. It's not apples to apples. It's very different. But there is some merit in there is some merit there where you go, if the Matildas can do what they're doing, why are we going so far, so quickly backwards, so quickly?
And I mean, like, you know, I've been sitting here for the last few years thinking, geez, we're going to lose so many league players to this World Cup. Are we? Are the players going to go?
Mate, hot take. I think there's a chance that Suoli'i doesn't go to Union.
I reckon there's a very good chance they get very few players.
Because, okay, you're Suoli'i and you're Union, so you're Union. And let's say after this World Cup, everything's happened, they make some drastic decisions. Why are we spending $1.5 million on Suoli'i? It literally does nothing for us. It's going to make, he's a little bit of a star, but in the long term, not really going to do that much for us. Maybe he's the catalyst that changes everything. Maybe he's that good. I don't know. And then Suoli'i's side, he can get $1 million at another NRL club. He can stay in the game, build his profile. That it's going to be worth more than let's say he loses $1.5 million over 3 years. The brand exposure that he would get as a superstar in league will be worth $1.5 million over 3 years' time. I mean, you could feel that with sponsors easy with a guy like Suoli'i. Big, tall, athletic, handsome. Like he has everything to be superstar.
The mid to late 2000s, you used to just be terrified and just seeing all these NRL players make the switch to rugby union. As like league diehards, you'd hate it. But you knew they were coming at times. I think I was 10 or 11 years old when Sonny Bill woke up one morning back home and flicked on Fox Sports News and he was on a plane to Toulon. I'm just like, I remember crying. I was so devastated that Sonny, I seriously did. And it was on the plane over there, like, this is the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. And then nowadays, it's like, sweet, go.
Well, you're almost like, good luck, bro.
Yeah. Cheers to you.
We'll see you in 3 years.
Yeah. Like, is it a smarter business decision for Suoli'i to stay in league? It might be. It honestly might be. Like, imagine, let's say this continues as it is. We have a home World Cup. We get dusted and bounced out in the rounds. I don't know if it will be, but if we're not at the rock bottom and the death of Union, could you imagine a home World Cup where we get bounced out in the group stages?
Oh. Big 4 years for them.
Oh, mate. I think it's almost, they're in survival mode right now. The decisions they make could very well predict whether they do survive as a game as a
tough thing level as well. Like in 40, like it's pretty much the young guys that have come into this World Cup now. They don't know anything else but the Wallabies sucking.
Yeah.
I grew up with the Wallabies being entertaining, fun to watch. The nation would always get around them. It hasn't been like that for 20 years.
I think they've been let down. This whole squad's been let down by decisions above them. I really, really do. And again, that's outside looking in, but it just looks like some of the decisions that are made are just, Anyway, we'll move on from it, guys. As I said, please, if you are deep in rugby union, let us know what your thoughts are, where we've got it wrong, or where you think we could change our opinions. Because at the end of the day, I think all four of us want the Wallabies to win, and we want rugby union to succeed. I do anyway.
In some ways, mate, you could call the World Cup a success because Benny Donaldson carved up Georgia. So that's all we
do. Okay, now Dally M's, just quickly. 5/8 of the year, Ezra Mam, Cam Munster, Cody Walker have been, tipped. I don't know whether we should go through position because we'll give our team of the year probably next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
But just with Dally M's, what I wanted to talk about, they need to change this idea that if you get suspended, you're not eligible. I think it is an ancient, but a yesteryear decision where, put it this way, 20 years ago or whenever this decision was made, you nearly had to kill a dude to get suspended. Now, your arm slips up in a tackle and you're getting suspended. It is a different environment. We need to change the rule. It shouldn't be like, let's just remove best and fairest and just call it the best. It is outrageous that a guy like Jacob Preston isn't eligible for Rookie of the Year, or a guy like Scotty Drinkwater or Reece Walsh. Now, Reece Walsh won. Look, if you wanted to go, look, that was at a referee and he got done for it. Okay, fair enough. Like, you don't want that as the Dally M fullback of the year. Fair enough. But like Scotty Drinkwater, It was a split-second decision at the start of the year where he just went high on Corey Oates. You really think he meant that?
It's any level of suspension, hey?
I think it's 2 weeks or more.
Two or more.
Yeah. Like, in today's game,
It's so easy to get 2 weeks.
it's so easy to get 2 weeks.
And that's fine that the NRL have cracked down on things like head highs and that to try and make the game safer. It's all fine, good and well. You missed 2 weeks plus. But to have players robbed of awards at the end of the season is so unfair and so archaic. Like, it should get with the times. And there can still be certain areas, like maybe if a player does something bad enough, they do it 5+ weeks, or as you said with Reece Walsh, something like dissent to the referee. Okay, maybe you could put a line through him for that. But for a shoulder to slip up and for a player like Preston to get 2 weeks and be ineligible for that, it is so wrong.
It's so wrong. Now he may, it's Rookie of the Year. You can't win it again. This is his only opportunity to win it. And a lot of people would have him as a front runner. So for 2023, he's not even going to get mentioned. And yet he was probably, by a lot of estimations, the best rookie of the season. I just don't get that. It's archaic in my opinion. Now, quickly, make sure you head to Shoe Grab to get new shoes. Free delivery on all orders over $99. Sneakers, casual performance, slides, limited exclusive, plus a bunch of clothes and accessories. If you go to their Instagram, guys, they got specials every day on some hectic shoes, plus clothes as well. They also stock Let's Trot merchandise. So that's Shoe Grab. Give them a follow, guys. They support the show, so you support them. If you're looking for some new shoes or whatever, go over there, grab some shoes. It's the Australia's biggest shoe market. Let's get to the prelim review. The grand final, as we know, will be exclusively shown on Channel 9 on 9 Now. So if you don't have it on a TV, you can watch it on 9 Now, guys. You can download the app on your phone, or you can watch it on your browser, on your PC, or your tablet. Vote for the best player in the prelim finals, and we will hand out the most valuable bloke award at the end of finals match. That'll be in the show notes, so click the link and vote for the most valuable bloke. It will be taken into consideration when we pick the most valuable bloke of the final series. Now, Panthers defeat the Storm 38-4. Clinical. We are watching greatness. That's all this has said this week, is we are watching greatness. We're watching 17 players go into a prelim, and honestly, you didn't see a hint of nerves. Like some people, what is bizarre and so incredible about this Penrith situation is I almost feel like all the pressure is on the Broncos going into this grand final. Like, is there really that much pressure on the Panthers? Is anyone sitting here going, oh, if they don't do this, then, there's going to be huge ramifications or whatever? Whereas on the Broncos side of things, and I'm not saying they have more pressure, but with Broncos, you go, oh, did they just miss their opportunity? They lose Flegler, Herbie, it's very hard to get to a grand final. This Penrith side, you go, okay, if they lose that 80 minutes, they're going to be there or thereabouts next year. It is stunning how little pressure or chat is around this Penrith side. And that's all due to the fact that these guys are ice cold monsters on the field. It is incredible.
I agree. All the pressure's on Brisbane. All of it.
It's wild.
I've never thought about it until just then. But yeah, I know you even said it before, we know what we're going to get out of Penrith. It just depends what happens with Brisbane. And you're right, mate. If they miss this opportunity, you lose a couple of really key guys there. All the pressure's on them.
Yeah. Renault's last 2 years of rugby league, probably 2 or 3 max. Oh, not max, but 2 or 3. There's an argument to go, well, grand finals are hard to make, whereas Penrith play so freaking consistently, so good, you can almost guarantee a grand final at least in the next 3 years.
I read out some stats, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, I think it was the week before, about Penrith's completion rates in finals games over the last 3 to 4 years. After 30 minutes of this clash, they were 17 from 17. At half-time, they were completing at 95%. Oh. After 60 minutes, they were 32 of 33 completed sets. They are unflappable. They ended on 87 with a few late errors or whatever, but game was dead and buried. How the hell do you beat that?
So 60 minutes in, they're at 95% pretty much.
Yeah.
We've never seen this before. Like, think about this. The Melbourne Storm, with guys like Cameron Smith, Cooper Cronk, Billy Slater, never went back-to-back. We're witnessing 3 in a row, 4 grand finals in a row, 3 potential wins in a row, 4 grand finals in a row. Even immortals couldn't put this together. I don't even think we're really appreciating the greatness we're witnessing.
And keep in mind too, like, before they started this 4-year run, they missed the finals the year before.
They had one Origin player, Cleary.
Yeah.
They got rid of James Maloney.
Like, I think that last game of 2019 was when Cleary put the cleaners through the Knights,
Yeah,
didn't
4
he?
tries.
Yeah.
4 tries. What an ominous
Yeah.
last game of like, we all didn't realise we were witnessing. Actually, I remember that game specifically because I think I gave Cleary like a man of the match or put his stats up or just celebrated Cleary. And the amount of people are like, oh, it's just the Knights, like they're a blow-tier side, you know, blah, 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 which is, you know, fair enough. At the time, no one knew that Cleary would do what he did. But what an ominous entry into the Cleary era and the Panthers era.
Wasn't a bad Supercoach afternoon if you care, Kempy.
Was it a record?
Oh, it was right up there.
At the
wasn't it?
time, it was. But it's been towed up since.
Really? Yeah. Okay, well. Dark day for Supercoach when that gets towed up.
Tell me about it. What were you going to say, Matty?
NRL fantasy or something?
No, I was gonna say I thought I had a better stat than I did, but
Yeah,
it's
fuck, you looked excited when I
Yeah.
first saw you.
Nah.
What stat did you think you have? And then read out the stat that you fucking...
So I read it on Twitter, but whoever had it on Twitter got it wrong. It was the equivalent of Manly this year winning the next 4 comps. But then I looked and it wasn't the case. It'd be like the Roosters or the Eels or the Cowboys, which is still pretty cool, winning the next 4 comps. Like Penrith in 2019. Being into the next 4 grand finals. Sorry.
But the Roosters made the finals. Panthers didn't make the finals that year.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it would be Cowboys, Manly.
Sorry, it'd be. Sorry, no, you know what? I've completely.
I can't believe
fucked this.
Rugby League Twitter's got one wrong.
No, they got it right.
No, they got it right.
They got it right.
They got it right. I got it wrong.
Right.
Sorry. Okay. I'm gonna decide if I'm gonna cut this out later. Manly. If Manly are in the next 4 grand finals, it'd be the equivalent.
Brooksy. We're about to see Brooksy go on a run.
Before we move on, anything else good to add there, Matty? Or
I'm gonna cut all this out.
No, don't cut it. Don't cut it. Don't cut
I'll
it.
leave
People
it.
will
I'll
love
leave
it.
it.
People
I'll
will
leave
love
it.
if
it.
ever there's been a bigger case for timestamps, you're looking at it.
Yeah. But again, like, it puts in perspective what we're watching
Have we
here.
ever had a father-son grand final before? Or
Hey, look, we've all had Barry Crockers. But again, it puts into perspective what we're watching here. And we say it all the time, but this isn't an old side. This isn't a side where you're going, ooh, they're at the end of their career. This is a young side. I think it's still the 2nd or 3rd youngest in the competition, maybe 4th if you want to be generous.
yeah, and like when you hear, you know, like I was listening to, you know, all the post-game conversations and everything and talking about, oh, their experienced players stood up. Their experienced players are fucking 4 years younger than me.
No, it's wild.
I'm just sitting there going, what? What's going on here?
Yeah, it is wild. It is truly phenomenal. And I think that back-to-back Roosters almost, and rightly so, like it was incredible what the Roosters did, but it desensitized us to how hard this really is because it happened so recently. We go, oh, Roosters went back-to-back. Okay, Panthers go back-to-back. But I mean, Roosters weren't in 4 grand finals in a row, potentially going into their 3rd grand final win. And I know Cooper Cronk was in, 4 or 5 grand finals in a row, but as a team, it is truly amazing. Now, as a game, I will say, the first 20 minutes, or maybe not the first 20, but the second, like after the first 10, so 20 of the 30, Storm missed huge opportunities that could have made the game slightly different. Clearly, Panthers would have absolutely gone away and run away with the game and won it. But there was a 20-minute period where they were imperfect and they were on the back foot. But it just, again, they still won 38-4.
You know, like we were just talking about their experienced players. Like you go back to that 2020 grand final, the 2 most experienced players in this team, Josh Mansell, James Tamo, they farewelled both of them after that grand final.
Wow.
That was after losing James Maloney the year before. I think it was, Matty. I think he left 2019. Like it is phenomenal that they are where they're at.
I mean, yeah, when your key half is 25, turning 26 or maybe 26, it's just insane.
They'll get a bit out of the Broncos. Get a bit out of the tape from this game because you're right, Kempy. It's like I'm not going to say the final scoreline was sort of flattering, but they had their opportunities. The Storm, like they busted through them a few times. Midway, they obviously had the Olam try, which is just soft 1-on-1 D from Tungo in that one, but basically the set after they found themselves down there again, and I think Loiero and Olam bombed a try. Then a couple of sets later, Warbrick made that break down the right edge. They swung it to the left and they had numbers and they bombed that again. So, like, there's cracks there. But I think we mentioned going into this game, the preview last weekend, you have to be perfect against Penrith and take every single opportunity you can get. They didn't take any of them, the Storm. They bombed, but they're not perfect.
Yeah.
There are opportunities there for the Broncos. They'll see them in the tape, but again, that was them letting a few breaks and they still won 38-4.
There was a moment that really, I thought, just summed up the Penrith Panthers where Harry Grant put in a kick from dummy half and it sat up a metre from the dead ball line. The kick could not have been more perfect. And Isaac Tungo gets the ball back and goes boom, 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 breaks 3 tackles, gets tackled a metre out. Cam Munster goes for the one-on-one strip, doesn't get it. He holds onto the ball. Toto scoots for 15. Cleary sees an opportunity, gets a penalty, kicks for touch, and then they score in the left corner where you've got Nathan Cleary running out the back of shape of Jerome Luai, completely flipped the script there. Harry Grant must have been standing behind his post going, 40 seconds ago I forced a line dropout with a perfect kick.
Yeah.
Now I'm standing here. How does this team do this?
They just kill you. Like, you give them anything, they
It's
just take it.
unbelievable.
How good is watching Cleary sweep to the left, running off Luai?
It's scary because you're like, please don't add that to your game.
Do you think that... So, like, we know as good as Penrith are, you have to adapt, whatever it is. You can't go with the same game plan every single year and just expect to win. It's not that easy. We saw Melbourne have to, as dominant as they were for 10 years with Smithy and Slaterman, they had to change every couple of years because teams would work out their game plans. Do you think that Cleary starting to sweep left and play both sides of the field is purely as a result of when Luai was out and he had to lift, or do you think it was a conscious decision by both Ivan and Nathan to go, come finals time, mate, let's throw a bit of a spanner in there and you start playing both sides?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because is it Cleary just becoming more confident in his game? You know, the yarn all year has been, look at these 33, 34-year-old halves just getting better and better. And I wonder, is Cleary getting to a point where he can just feel the game so much better than he could maybe 2 years ago? But also, it wouldn't put it past me, Ivan Cleary is a master and he doesn't get anywhere near the appreciation that he should get. We're talking about 4 grand finals, going to his 3rd potential premiership. And I've spoken about it, me and Guru, we've spoken about it a bit. A few years ago when he had those words with Wayne Bennett before the grand final, and at the time, myself and Guru were just like, Ivan, what are you doing, brother? What are you doing going for a verbal sparring match with the GOAT of verbal sparring matches as a coach? And then, I guess with the advantage of history and hindsight or whatever, you look back and you go, was that calculated by Ivan? Like, because you don't get into these positions by accident. You know, that's something I've definitely learned as I've gotten older. These people that achieve these great things, yeah, there's some luck along the way, but to have his consistent dominance, that's not an accident. So it would not surprise me if he's gone, as we get into finals footy, Cleary, Nath, start shooting down that other side because it'll just bamboozle defences. Because when you've got him at the back there, you're going, what the hell? Like, you know, where's Edwards? You know, is Edwards on the other side of the play? You know what I mean? It will confuse. And I also think, is it a way to protect Luai? Because if he's out the back there, he could get jammed hard off that. I don't know. Like, you know, maybe we're overthinking it, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Maybe I'm overthinking as well, but it wouldn't shock me if he's done the same thing with his 2 centres. He just swapped them randomly 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, just randomly.
And like, I thought it might be matchup-wise for the Warriors game to be able to handle that right edge, but nothing's changed. Isaac Tungo's still playing on the right edge.
Yeah.
He's been I don't know.
I'd love to see...
He's on another level at the moment, Ivan.
I'd love to see because everything would be calculated. I'd love to see him walk you through basically, this is the footage we've seen, this is what we've seen from Critter, because I think it doesn't get enough appreciation. The amount of footage that these coaches watch is just like next level. And so maybe they've got some kind of percentages of, we've actually watched Critter on the other side and defensively we leak, you know, X amount of less points or something along those lines, because it wouldn't just be a vibe thing.
No.
It wouldn't just be like, oh, we're just going to put essentially the Dally M centre, we're just going to chuck him on the other side.
Watching Nathan Cleary floating down the left side, that's the spot for me. I'd be going at Brisbane. Must worry you.
Mate, bloody oath, it worries me. The whole thing worries me. Penrith Panthers, as I said, I believe this is the best version of Penrith Panthers. And we'll get into the preview, so we'll talk more about the preview, but, mate, it is going to be explosive. Explosive. Anyway.
Because part of me wonders if Ivan has just been sitting there the last 2 weeks going, in order to win this comp, we know who we have to beat.
Well, interesting. And I know he said that it wasn't the case, it just kind of happened. But 22 offloads by the Broncos?
I reckon they're preparing.
Like, what's going on with that?
100%. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's like, hang on a sec. That hasn't really been your go-to. I think actually, weren't they the second worst in the comp? And they get to a prelim. And they're frigging offloading left.
It feels
right,
like these are two heavyweights
Yeah.
that know who they have to beat to win this comp, and they've just been preparing for each other.
Yeah, and it's almost like a boxing match. Like they're feinting each other. Like there's things going on that we can't really see because they're obviously so high level. But it wouldn't surprise me. Like Penrith going into this game, they would be very, very confident they're going to win. And also, I think they'd be very confident Broncos will get the job done. But we'll get to the preview. We're just too fucking keen.
I'm way too horny for this. Great.
Okay, let's talk first. Let's talk first about the Panthers.
Just quickly, 23 offloads, but the average was 10 all year.
Jeez.
More than doubled. Wow. Okay, let's get into it. We've spoken about Toll already. Speak about Luai quickly because I spoke about him a bit the other day. You can hate Luai as much as you want. We can all sit on the internet, say whatever we want about Luai, but this bloke just keeps turning up and lets his actions talk. I know he's got some things and said some things, and the way he plays sometimes can frustrate people. I get it. But at the end of the day, this bloke with a huge target, like on his forehead, run at me, rocks up, gets the job done in another grand final. You can talk all you want. This guy just keeps delivering, and there's nothing we can say about it. And this is coming from a Luai fan.
Yeah, you don't have to like him, but you've got to respect him.
Oh, my God.
I always go back to, mate, they lost that 2020 grand final. They shoved a microphone in his mouth, and he just said, this fucking sucks. I hate this, but we're going to come back bigger and better. That's what everyone says after they lose a grand final. How many of them come back bigger and better?
Mate, even after the game when he was quoted, I'm just built different, just like, okay, yeah, it's cocky. And you know that he's saying it tongue-in-cheek. He doesn't really think that. But it's just like, that's huge words to say heading into a grand final against one of the most explosive forward packs we've seen in a long time, to go, yeah, I'm built different. Like, but he'll probably deliver because that's all he has done at club level is just deliver. It's unbelievable. And
like obviously he is coming back from injury, and he's like obviously not sweet. Like they carried Cogger on the bench and made Mitch Kenny play the full 80. Like he is obviously not sweet.
Oh, you could tell he's not sweet. Even by the way he holds his arm, you can tell that he's like got it in
He's just so tough.
Came off 22 minutes early, like clearly there was concern.
Absolutely. As I said in the Packer Up Boys on Friday, I was like, I'll be shocked if he gets through this game and it doesn't pop out. But what do we know? Once again, this Penrith Panthers system of getting blokes back on the field and getting them through. I mean, no one even talks about it anymore. Cleary needed a shoulder reconstruction last year, and he played the rest of the year and won a grand final.
God.
It is like Dylan Edwards, broken foot the year before. It is just phenomenal. And the mindset that this Panthers system has got these boys in, like this isn't just physical. Like this is a mindset that's unbreakable.
I think it's so interesting when you have a look at their three premierships. Like the first one was just one-off defense. Like during that final series in particular, their defense was just incredible. The next year, it's a bit more attacking, a bit more expansive. Appy Kurosawa, these sort of guys. Appy leaves, and they have to completely Appy and Kickout leave, and they have to completely transform how they play and how they go about their footy. Are they more dominant?
Mate, they're what are they? 70-10 is their final score this year. 70-10.
And they've played two top four teams.
Yeah, fucking unbelievable. Okay, individual efforts. We talked about Fisher Harris.
One thing on Fisher Harris I wanted to add. I've loved the evolution and the chats we have around these ball playing locks. And I know he's a front rower, but there was even, I think it was To'o's second try. And the pass that Fisher Harris throws out the back, I think it might have been Cleary. Yeah. You're just going like, that was perfect as well. And you never talk about James Fisher Harris for his ball playing.
Yeah.
But he notches that up as well.
Yeah. Scary too, because like if he does add that to his game, imagine how many quick play the balls he's going to get. Because he's just going to hold the ball in two hands and
Far
go.
out.
And that's another thing with this mindset of this Panthers side. Even though they've had all this success, they all seem still hungry to become better versions of themselves. Very easy for all these players to go, you know what, I'm going to enjoy the fruits of my labour. Like, I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm already one of the best in the comp at what I do. But every year it seems like they're all adding things to their game. We literally just spoke about Cleary now sweeping around that side more regularly, adding to his game. Critter, his defence has gone to a whole nother level this year. Dylan Edwards, I think his ball playing is actually getting substantially better than it was only 2 years ago. Big shout out to Dylan Edwards. I think he's actually had a bit of a quiet year compared to last year. But what I've loved about his work this year, his decision making on when to take that tough carry, it's almost second to none. The amount of times you're like, ooh, Panthers look under a bit of pressure here, and then Edwards takes a carry and he might bump a tackle or get a quick play of the ball, and then just momentum rolls on from there. It's almost second to none from a fullback.
And his carries too, like very few of them are 15, 20 metres. They're 11, but they're a quick 11.
Yeah,
and that
absolutely.
just turns the leg speed, and the momentum is just thrown completely.
Sometimes you don't want, like, sometimes go, oh yeah, they made 15 metres and 10 of it was post contact. It's like, yeah, but that's a slow play the ball.
Yeah.
And you just sit there going,
carried for 5, you're getting put down.
Yeah, it sucks. So the next guy that's running the ball gets absolutely jammed. Sometimes it's better to run 5 metres but get a quick play the ball, because then the next guy gets gets him behind the ruck. I think Tungo is going to be really interesting because, mixed bag. I wouldn't say mixed bag because I still think he played well, but now he's got that out of his system. Tungo in a grand final at centre, there's something special about that. Especially, he's almost like a similar-ish player to Staggs to a degree. Obviously, he gets through more work than Stagg does on a regular basis. But that explosiveness, remember that try he scored against the Melbourne Storm mid-year, late year, down in Melbourne, where he bumped like Warbrick jammed in on him, bumped him, scored or whatever. I think that there might be a play in this game where we see that same strength from Tungo. Got it out of his system now. He's going to feel comfortable. He's going to be back in the rhythm of things. I can't wait to see him in a grand final at centre.
You quite often find with him, and like you look at that game the other night, like he got absolutely shown up on that play. But then, and it's happened to him a few times over the last 2 years. It was a game against Newcastle. I think it was at the end of last year. Dango guy gave him a bath in the first 10 minutes. And then after that, Isaac just absolutely torched him for the rest of the game. He scored a try himself. He set up a few for Taylor May. His bounce back from poor moments is huge. And I agree. I think he's going to be massive this week. And you think about him, he's played less than 50 games of first grade. And if they win this week, he'll win a premiership as a left-hander right centre.
Yeah, I was going to say, so he played last grand. Can you get his stats up from the last grand final? And he was on the other side, wasn't he?
Yep, left
so he was
centre.
on the left side. And that was, so the left side, that would have been Jerome's side with kick out?
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting. Going to be, so this side, this time he's got...
Remember, he ran the decoy all year.
night long. In that game as well. But I'd love to know what his stats are.
2 try assists.
Grand final?
Yep. 2 line break assists, 2 tackle breaks, 109 metres, 6 tackles. Yep.
Doesn't even get talked about.
Mate, he's played less than 50 games. He debuted as a back rower and he could win a comp at left and right centre.
And like 2 try assists in a grand final.
It's
in your first
unbelievable.
grand final. And essentially your first year of rugby league.
Yeah.
NRL, sorry. Oh my God.
You mentioned earlier Herbie versus Tungo. Stags versus Critter.
Stop it. That's, again... And it's no disrespect to the Eels last year. They had an incredible forward pack. But when you looked at that back line, the matchup wasn't as, I guess, even.
Yep.
Whereas when you look at this like roster across the board, it is just like unbelievable player up against unbelievable player up against. Everywhere you look, there is a battle for the ages. It is so, so exciting. So I can't wait to see Tungo. And I do think it's smart for the Panthers risking playing him a week early to get him that under his belt, just that game out of his way. I think that if they didn't play him, we may have seen a missed tackle in the grand final, like what we saw in the prelim. Whereas I think after that 80 minutes, Tungo, and we saw him, he eased into the game, he was all good. I think that now he's got that butterflies out of his stomach, he should be sweet.
Well, he'd want to, because I think he's got one of the biggest challenges in rugby league coming his way on Sunday.
Crazy. Cannot wait. 2 try assists in a grand final, your first grand final as a youngster. Doesn't even get spoken about. It will be interesting next year with Critter leaving if Tungo becomes like the Critter of the team, if you know what I mean. If he's the go-to guy for the big plays.
They reckon that Taylor May is going to come back as a centre.
As centre.
Yeah.
I think Taylor May even said he wants to play centre.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to see which side he plays. Who else stood up for you guys for the Panthers?
Like we've already spoken about the halfback, obviously, so no need to go any further there. But I thought Liam Martin and Scotty Sorensen were tremendous as well. Liam Martin probably had a few more stats that favoured him. He had that big play. Like, you think about that try that he set up. Like, it wasn't just anyone he palmed off and put him in the dirt. It was Cam Munster.
No. Far out.
Like he just and that wasn't a set play or anything. That was like Jerome Loy got the ball on the left tram line, span, and ran back and floated the ball to him. And he's just put Cam Munster onto the ground like that. Like,
Do you reckon Munster's ever missed a tackle like that in his career?
Very rarely. Very rarely.
I've seen him do it twice ever. Matty Timoko last year in the finals. Yeah. Liam Martin this year.
And I think like this year, it was a lot to do with, I think he'd taken like 4 runs the set before. And so he was just doing anything, trying anything to get them back in the game. And he's like gassed, fatigued. And that's what happens. I wonder whether, does Liam Martin identify that? Does he? I know it was a Luai coming back around and they gave him a ball off the cuff. But yeah, as soon as you get fatigued or there's a person in your line that's just slacking off a little bit or tired, they just hit you every time. Boom. Right, exactly where they need to land. Boom, they land there.
No, I thought it was interesting on that play, and I'm pretty sure you can all go back and double check it yourself. But Jerome Luai's floating across the field, just inside Liam Martin was Nath Cleary. Luai still made the decision. No, that's the guy that needs the ball here.
Yeah, he doesn't get enough credit, Luai, for his role in that team. Another guy, Spencer Leno, I thought he did a really good job when he came on.
Yeah.
Really, really good job through the middle there. Had 10 runs, 105 metres, 4 tackle breaks, 11 tackles, and he did all of that in 32 minutes. It's not bad.
You know what? I think he is such a good player, and I want to say so bad, geez, they're going to miss him. Are they?
Yeah, cool,
They'll find someone.
They'll find someone. And I don't mean any disrespect to Spencer Leno. I love him. I think he's going to be a great signing. But, fuck, who have they missed? Haven't missed Appy. They haven't missed Kickow. They haven't missed Matt Burton.
Matt Burton. Oh, fuck. Forget about Matty Burton.
James Tamu, Josh Mansell. Like, the list goes on and on. They're not missing any of these guys.
You just know they're going to find someone coming off the bench to do his job.
And it feels like they haven't, yes, they went and got Hoskin, they went and got Garner, but it's not like they haven't even gone to market and gone and brought a rep player yet.
Yeah. Could you imagine if they did?
It's wild that they haven't.
Well, there's whispers that even, I think, Terrell May was trying to get there, which was like...
Imagine if they would have got him.
Oh, my God.
You see him play reserve grade yesterday?
God.
Jesus Christ.
He was a joke yesterday in reserve grade. He was so good. I think I can't wait to see Spencer Leno's career, like when he goes to the Roosters. Like, how is he going to be used? Is he going to be, longer minutes, all that kind of stuff? I will say, though, that they may struggle to replace a player specifically to him, but I think that they'll create systems that pick up for that. If you know what I mean? So, for example, Api Coruscant moves on, so they're so intelligent with the way they handle their game plans. They go, all right, well, we'll get Mitch Kenny in there and we just need to lean heavier on other players. And so maybe that's what they're going to try to do with Spencer.
We're going to say the same thing?
Maybe.
Yeah, okay.
Sorensen?
I was thinking Sorensen.
I was going to say that maybe, while it'd be hard to move Sorensen from the edge, they've got Hosking there, they've got Garner there. Maybe one of them two become the 80-minute edge and Sorensen goes back to that middle bench role where he plays 45, 50 minutes.
I've heard that Ivan thinks he could turn Alamotti into that sort of player.
Ooh, that's a great shout.
I love it.
I love that.
Watching him all this year, I'm going, I just thought he was just in a bit of an Adonis out there and a bit slow, and I just thought you could turn this bloke into a good bench forward, middle.
Yeah, because he's got speed, straight, but sometimes laterally defensively he's struggled a little bit. So if you beef him up a little bit more and you just go, mate, we just need 30 minutes out of you.
Rate it.
Oh my God. And he's not necessarily ball playing, but as a centre, you've got to at least have a tip on.
Yep.
Ooh, that's scary. Him through the middle there with that explosive physique, because he's big.
And as you said, the key to it is 25 minutes.
Yeah, just 30 minutes, mate. 25 minutes. We need you to go out there and just go skits. Because then you take all the thought out of their heads. Like, they don't need to worry about, all they need to do is when I get on there, I'm flat track, and then I just get taken off.
Yeah. And I mean, like you even have a look at their squad right now. Like, even the guys that didn't make the team, like Hosking isn't playing at the moment. Like, Eisenhuth, every time he comes in, he's tremendous.
Peachy's been unreal this year.
They're not even picking Peachy.
The great Peach. Game plan wise, I just loved the fact that as soon as they got, Storm almost seemed like you could tell Storm were making a point of, we aren't going to let you do anything grubby to us, dirty to us, or push any line. And Panthers just went, yeah, sweet. Well, we aren't taking a backward step either. And I love that about the Panthers, is that they just don't allow. They'll fight you wherever you want to be fought. If you want to go as dirty as possible, we'll go all the way down there. If you want to go as high as possible, we'll go there as well. But their ability to do that, but smartly, you know what I mean? Like, they just do it in such a smart way that you can't really ping him for certain things. Whereas we'll talk about it. I felt like the Storm did it not smartly. Like, some of the players, you're like, bruh, that is not who does that help? Like, I get it, it's aggressive and you want to keep players out. That's part of rugby league. I love it, but got to be done in a smarter way. Whereas I think the Panthers are really smart about the way. I mean, you could even say sneaky to a degree, but they're just really smart about the way they do things.
I thought it was an unreal moment. I think it was Taruva scored a try, and I actually didn't notice it live, but someone sent me a still of it, and you can see the boys celebrating in the corner, and then just at the bottom of the screen where the score is, Nelson standing there, and you can see Mitch Kenny go and find him. Mitch Kenny grabs him and like shakes him up, and I just thought, it's the smallest guy on the field against the biggest guy on the field, but Mitch Kenny could not give a flying fuck.
And that's that like smart, sneaky way.
Yeah.
Because like the try scored, you're not going to get a penalty for that, but it's just as it pisses you off just as much as a late push to your 7. You know what I mean? And so it's just that, like, this Panthers side, they're not angels. Like, these are rugby league players. Like, they're there to win fucking matches and they're there to dominate the opposition.
Sorry, mate.
I was just going to say, just that smart, sneaky way to get Nelson going skits.
Yeah, Penrith winning 13 plus every week and blowing out all these score lines is boring and it sucks. But watching this like rugby league poetry in motion that is this near perfect rugby league team in Penrith is so enjoyable.
Oh, mate.
Wasn't it? I just thought this weekend was just like watching that game, it felt like you were watching Melbourne versus anyone 6 years ago. And Penrith have just completely flipped it and they're Melbourne now.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good, like, they're the dominant Melbourne Storm.
And like people, blow up about it, but like watching Nath in that game, he was having the same control as what Cam Smith used to for Melbourne in those games.
It's a good point. It's a really good point. And like, obviously they haven't had the longevity that Storm had. But again, even Storm didn't go back-to-back the way, the Panthers are. They're about to go back-to-back-to-back, potentially. Anyone else stand out for you guys in the other side?
There was one other moment I wanted to talk about in this game that I thought was wild. Now, Nathan Cleary, he put up the bomb and Nick Meaney caught it 1 foot in the in goals. And as he ran back to the 20-metre to take the tap, Liam Martin pushed him.
Oh, my God, this is crazy.
And Nathan Cleary, just like that, went, got to stop this, got to slow it down. Liam could get in trouble here and challenged it. Went upstairs and he had his foot half in the air. I don't know if Nath was actually aware of that, or I don't know if Nath just assessed what was happening with Liam Martin and went, this could be a professional foul hill if he's pushed him. I'm not sure how it all played out, but the way that if you're Melbourne, you're just sitting there going, what is this?
In the commentary, they reckon that Critter came storming in and goes, his foot wasn't down.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, whether or not that's it, that's what it looked like on field. Huge turning point in the game there. So that was like, when I say turning points, they're obviously always pretty comfortable, Penrith, but the back end of that first half, Melbourne had their chances. They didn't really complete them, but that would have been a sit bin, more than likely, probably Liam Martin. And then what happened? And then took off, and one of the Storm players wasn't back behind the 20, so it slowed it up that little bit more. That was a big moment because then went back, just slowed up the entire game, didn't it? The sin bin didn't occur.
It's a huge call.
If that's true that Critter made that call, it's one of my pet peeves in rugby league where you see teams consistently fuck up challenges. For Penrith to just have the confidence to back their centre in, it would have been, 30, 40 metres away from the ball?
It's the greatest captain's challenge of this year.
It's incredible.
He was 10 centimetres off the ground, that 1 foot, 10 centimetres. And so it probably was Critter because maybe he had a good angle of it. And also Critter obviously catches so many balls at training and that. You get a good eye for when a foot's down and when it's not. But yeah, one of the talk about again. You don't talk about this intelligence of this Penrith side, but to make that call, because a lot of captains would have said, you know what, Critter, it's not a big play, we'll just do it. But to think quick enough to go, actually, if this is right, we save a man 10 in the bin. Yeah. If this is wrong, well, we're going to lose him anyway. So we may as well just risk that. Like, think about how I wouldn't have thought of it that quickly. That's how ice cold Cleary is to think that quickly to go, holy shit. We've got to make a play at this because if it's right, we get a guy to stay on the field. If it's wrong, he goes. That is such a smart, quick play. Far out.
I just mentioned before, about how it felt like to me Nath Cleary was in control like Cam Smith used to. And the moment that summed it up for me was when Isaac Tungo got to the in goals, Brian Toto scooted, and then Nathan Cleary jumped in dummy half. And he saw they were offside. He scooted, and all he did in contact was look at the referee and go, they're offside. I know they're offside. Make the call. And people will blow up, the refs do this. Bullshit. The best teams win games. End of the fucking story.
And even if he actually wasn't offside, when Nathan Cleary scoots like that, picks someone out, then stares you down, you blow that damn whistle. You'd be too scared not to.
Mate, it's amazing. I want to give a shout out to Cleary. Like, if you ever wondered whether he has a heart of a champion, they're up by 20 points, prelim, easily could have gone off the field. He was looking battered as anything. His head taped up. You could tell the Melbourne Storm were going, you know what, we're just going to get a piece of flesh wherever we can get it. We just want to get something out of this game. And he could have easily gone, and Ivan as well, could have easily said, mate, get off. We do not. I mean, look at the Broncos. They pulled Reynolds off.
I can't believe Cleary stayed on that last 20.
Cleary stayed on the whole game. Like, that is what makes him, or a part of what makes him so great, is that the game is done and dusted. But he is so fucking ruthless. He wants to stay on for the last 20 and just put a few more points on, or just make your life a little bit harder.
There was one point when he started, all the blood was rushing out. He said he was walking back through the play of the ball, and Nelson gave him a shove or something. And mate, the look Nath gave him, as if to say, "Who the fuck are you?" was just wild.
Oh man, I tell you what, this Penrith Melbourne, I guess, rivalry, it is heating up. Because there were definitely plays in that game where it crossed the line into just pure dirty tactics. Which is like, again, I'm okay with it because this is rugby league. Obviously, not something that's like, For example, we'll talk about the Cleary push from Nelson. I'm okay with that because it's just a push. It wasn't like a swinging arm to his head. It's all part of rugby league to get in each other's head. Nelson's probably sitting there going, look, I'm willing to cop this penalty to get in Cleary's head. Now, there's a line. If he had gone out and swung arm him, whatever, that's like, mate, fucking see you later.
And in a weekend where referees got a lot of things wrong, I thought they nailed that moment.
Great call.
Yeah.
Penalty, it's finals footy.
Absolutely.
Guys are going to get pushed.
If they had have given Tendon the bin for that push, unbelievable.
And credit to them for understanding the moment.
Yeah, and exactly, understanding the moment, because everyone knew what was happening there. It was the biggest bloke on the field trying to get under the skin of the best player in the game. And so the refs know that, we know that. So you go, you know what, penalty? Let's just keep moving forward rather than... Because it's not going to happen. If it happens again, then obviously you send him for 10, but it's clearly not going to happen again.
Even that, did it. If he's trying to get in his head, I think it was 4-4 at the time. Yeah, sweet, we'll take the 2, 6-4, we're up.
No.
Advantage Panthers.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
So, yeah. Anyone else, boys?
No.
Okay.
Just a good footy side, Kempy.
Great bloody footy side. Now on to the Storm. So brave this year. I really think that they've almost overachieved. Not by a lot. Before the season started, I said I felt like there were 3 teams with better squads than them. You'd argue they probably finished 3rd or 4th. I think they've been super gutsy. I think they have done the Storm jersey proud for the roster that they have. I really do. But I do think after watching that final, they should be extremely disappointed. And I think that this, for a Storm club and for a Storm jersey, just making prelims is not good enough. And I think we saw on the weekend that some pretty substantial changes need to happen with this roster if they want to start challenging for premierships in the next few years. Now, if those substantial changes may be some younger players that are currently in this roster just getting more experience, another preseason on their belt, I'm not saying that they need to just go and trade everyone out, but I do think that they really need to have a real close look at some key players and moving in either recruitment or basically going, okay, we've got 12 more months with this roster. If it doesn't work, we need a huge clean out. Because for the Storm anyway, because since Cameron Smith, and I hate to say it, I know people don't like to bring it up, and it's unfair on this current Storm roster because you're comparing it to one of the greatest all time, but they really have not fired a shot in finals footy since 2020.
People say it's harsh. It's a harsh reality.
It's rugby league.
They haven't.
Yeah. They really haven't.
They haven't looked like either, realistically. And, you look at this Panthers side, like they could win their 3rd grand final in a row this week. It'd be 4 if Cameron Smith retired a year earlier. I think it'd be 4.
Oh, absolutely. There's no way Storm beat them without Cam Smith.
So, yeah, I was watching that Melbourne Storm side. Do you both think they are just a couple of forwards away? Or because I was almost watching them going, you've got the hooker, you've got the halfback, you've got the 5'8". What would we say the best 3 things about their game are? I would say their running game. We all agree?
Yep.
Are they too run heavy, do we think?
But I just don't think they have the forwards.
Or you think it's just they don't have the forwards to be able to...
Like they're trying to run off slow play the balls all the time.
Yeah, okay.
And so I think that if you were to go out and get one or two really good big boppers that get through a lot of work, I think it changes everything for them.
Yeah, okay.
I also think a guy like Nick Meaney, who's had such a good year for him, he's been so consistent. He'd be in their top 3 most consistent players of the whole season. But just that extra bit that Pappy offered, they really missed throughout the year, I think. It seems unfair to say to Meaney. As I said, I do think he's been super consistent, but just that extra step. I spoke about it a little bit before last game with the Fa'alongo. Maybe he doesn't offer the consistency that Meaney does, but just that extra tier. Now, to be clear, they wouldn't have gotten through the Roosters if Meaney didn't play so good defensively. But I do think that we did see, I guess, just that next step needed to be made, and unfortunately didn't really have it. Maybe it's just one poor game, I'm not sure. But anyway, sorry, Timmy.
And it's as simple as that. They don't have the middles. And it's been a bit of an issue for them for I think 2 years now. It's not hindsight hero. We've said it all year. We've seen it all year. We said it from as soon as pre-season started that they looked light on for middles. And that's where they need to go to market, because for me, not just a lesson reinforced time and time again in rugby league this season off the back of the Melbourne Storm side is that, you mentioned they don't have probably quite the roster there to have gone into a grand final and gone deep this season. Their spine is one of the best spines we've seen in rugby league between Hughes, Munster and Grant. Meaney came in and did a terrific job this season, but their forward pack was never there. And you look at it, just really nails down the fact that without a good forward pack, it doesn't matter what you've got out the back or in the spine, they can't do anything. And it's exactly what you said, Kempy. They didn't have the speed through the middle. They weren't winning the middle, and these blokes couldn't do anything. Like Cameron Munster, 3 finals games this season. He had 1 try assist in 3 games. That was the kick for Warbrick. It was sweet, whatever. 0 line breaks, 0 line break assists. He's if not the best player in the NRL, top 3, top 5, whatever you want to call it. Didn't impact these finals at all, really.
Yeah, and he's done it at a higher standard. He's done it at Origin.
And that's where we're going back to sort of Meaney a little bit. Question marks around, X factor and, can he help take them to a grand final next year, whatever it is. We've seen quiet years from Jerome Hughes and Cameron Munster by their lofty standards. Well, Nick Meaney's been superb all year behind the exact same pack. So if he gets a pack that dominates, I don't know. I think he's had a pretty damn... I don't mind it.
Oh, I think he's had a good year. I just think that... I just don't know whether he has that next level in him like a Pappy does.
No, he's not. Obviously, Pappy.
Yeah.
Pappy's substantially ahead, but...
it seems really harsh because, as I said, he has been so good for them this year, so consistent. But I just wonder whether, maybe he does. You're right. Maybe it is a forward pack, and I'm happy to if he comes out next year, and if Pappy is or isn't back or whatever, and he kills it. But I think it says something that Pappy was already squeezing his way into that side after Meaney had such a good year. That I just. And also that Fa'alongo was 19th man. So it's going to be interesting to see whether... I do think there's a spot for Meaney in the 17, for sure. For sure. I'm just talking about that top tier kind of stuff.
And what we've seen with the Storm this season over the past decade, what the argument's always been, they've got this very unique roster where they've just gone so heavy on their spine, having this superstar spine. And Craig Bellamy always just finds players to go out and plug gaps elsewhere. And then the superstar spine over the last decade and a bit, they'll get it done. Yeah. He hasn't found those players through the middle this year. Yeah. And it's not singling out any of those individuals because they've all done okay jobs, but collaboratively through their pack, he hasn't found them.
I will say, regardless of all of that, we've spoken about a lot on this show. Over the past 24 months, they've lost Tino, Dale Finucane, Cheese, Bromwich Brothers, Kofusi, probably someone else. All of that does not excuse a 65% completion rate in a prelim.
Just on that note, you look at, the 2020 grand final, the last premiership they won, which realistically it wasn't that long ago. It was 4 years ago this week. Their forward pack, Bromwich, Smith, Welsh, Kofusi, Kenny Bromwich, Nass, Cheese, Tino, Finucane. The only ones that are still there are Christian Welsh and Nass. All the rest of them have been gone.
Yeah.
I don't think people I don't think people appreciate the fact that they've essentially lost their whole forward pack and they're still in a prelim. Like, it is pretty incredible.
And by Melbourne standards, you'd sit there and go, come on, give them a bit of cut some slack, and maybe being a little bit harsh, but because they made a preliminary final again, but they lost week 1 and week 3 of the finals cumulatively 64-4. They snuck past the Roosters, who had been pretty ordinary all year, with a kick on the buzzer across field.
At home.
At home. Like, sure, a preliminary final, on face value, that's a damn good result. But the way they went through the finals, well, no one at the Storm's going to be sitting there going, we had a good year.
Well, I mean, put it this way, even Storm fans, at any point this whole season, aside from maybe once where you're like, we're a real shot here, I feel like it's been such a stop-start season for them. And I think it's a testament to their incredible grit as a club that they are where they are. But unfortunately, when you just look at this roster, I just don't know if it has it in it to take it the next step. They need to make some recruits. But as I said, disregarding all that, what will be the most disappointing is that it doesn't matter about roster. 65% completion rate in a prelim. And I feel like that's where you miss your older leaders. When you're completing at 65%, and I know Cam Munster's a really experienced player and he's, 27, 28 now, but Cam Munster's always been a bit of a rogue. He's definitely a leader in his own way. I do think that they miss a player out there that's out there for 60 to 80 minutes that can not allow this kind of stuff to happen, that can pull the boys in. Ironically, all you have to do is go back to their grand final win. They come out, they play almost perfectly, 20-0 to the Panthers. Come out and it's like 24-4, whatever it is. Then they start throwing stupid offloads. Who was the bloke that got them all in the huddle and started pointing fingers and going, boys, what the fuck are we doing? It was Cameron Smith, the old experienced veteran. And I just think when you look at this roster now, who's the guy that can do that with as much weight behind him as a guy like Smithy? Now, obviously, no one's going to have as much weight as Smithy, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and just to back up that point, the Melbourne Storm have not won a sudden death game since Smith retired.
They haven't really fired a shot.
Wow.
They beat Manly finals week 1 of 2021, and then they beat last week? The Roosters off the kick.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
So the Roosters one, sorry, that was a sudden death game.
It was by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking.
So they've won 2 finals games from, I think, 6 or 7 since then.
It was interesting. I interviewed Bellamy on the captain's run last week, and I said, rebuild's a bad word, and it's not something that I assume you would ever use. But is this like a transition phase for you or whatever? And he said, no. He said, first of all, like, rebuild's not a thing, like blah, 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 that's why he's so great. Yep. But he did say at the start of the year, our whole goal was to get the best out of the roster that we have right now. And I think the most disappointing thing for Bellamy is that I would say a loss in the prelim is probably pretty much the best out of your roster that you can get, but it's the way they lost the prelim that I think Bellamy is going to be super disappointed at. It's the fact that they rocked up and arguably had one of their worst games all season, and their game was in the balance in the first 20, and they really could have executed, and they didn't.
The beauty of it is for them that this is so much easier said than done, but with the recruitment they've had in the past, they've still got this superstar spine. Hopefully Pappy's thereabouts early next year to come back in at fullback, regardless whether it's Filogo or if it's Meany. They can just find 2 middle forwards out there. They don't have to be superstars, but just to prop up their middles. Do they have anyone coming next year?
Well, reports were they went pretty hard after Tino. So that says what they're
There's
trying
money
to do.
there somewhere.
Must have some bicky.
They got money, and it says that they are clearly identified they need a couple of big boys in the middle there.
So if they can find 2, they don't have to be superstars.
Yep.
Like, all of a sudden, you've got a premiership winning roster again with that spine.
They're absolutely only 1 or 2 players away from a premiership roster.
He's not playing in the NRL at the moment. He's over there in the Super Leagues and rumours of him coming back. But, geez, I would go and get Takiaho in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I wonder what his body's like, whether he could, if he's coming back to the Roosters Bulldogs as reported, and we know how hard they're training, but I wonder, could his body withstand the rigours of Storm, the king front rower? See, I'd be going aggressive with a guy like Terrell May. I'd be trying to get guys like him down. Yeah. I would have really gone hard at a guy like Flegler. I know he's just signed with the Dolphins, but when he was coming off contract, he's a guy I would have identified to go after. Even a guy like Spencer Linu, they could have used. Now, I know he's not going to be a long-minute player, but what have we talked about? Quick play the ball through the middle. Like, he would have helped. Yeah. He's almost similar to Cheese. I think they've really missed Cheese. another stat that's really disappointing as well, and maybe it's because they were just out of gas because they tried so hard. They missed 50 tackles. The Melbourne Storm missed 50 tackles in a prelim.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I heard Cam Munster talking after the game about how big their preseason needs to be just to find their DNA in defence again.
I do think we speak about it a lot, but I do think their DNA, it's definitely still there. Like, they got to a prelim through pure grit, but I do think that they're not as confident in that as they have been in yesteryear of who they are on the field when things get tough.
Well, I think you could start to see that last year. I think they finished 6th. They went out against the Raiders, finals week 1. And then in the midst of that year, the guys that own the DNA all went, we're going to the Dolphins. They've lost a lot in the last year or so.
Huge. As I said, basically their whole forward pack, except for 2 players from 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It's unbelievable.
It's crazy. Yeah, and you look at, like, DNA-wise, like, they might not have played finals and whatever, and they might have finished 5th last, say whatever the fuck you want, but the DNA you could see was present for the Dolphins through those Melbourne boys.
Yeah. Another problem, and I'm sorry to be Debbie Downer, but they're almost heading into next year, like, even their centres aren't locked in. Seve, unfortunately, had a very poor game. Olam, his confidence just looks shot. Like, he doesn't look like the same player, unfortunately.
I hate to say it, but I reckon that might be Olam's last game for Melbourne.
You reckon?
They obviously had no confidence in him going into the finals. Him and Munster were just on... I've never seen an edge be so bad for Melbourne before.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm forgetting games, but
capitulated.
They were awful. And you could tell how frustrated Munster was. I don't know. I think he'd be a great signing for someone to have a crack somewhere. I don't know. I was watching that just thinking...
That first try is like, Olam, what are you thinking, Bruss? Like you're not... like, it's... Yeah, he just... His head is just not there this year, which is... Again, we're talking about a Dally M centre.
And he signed on till 26.
Yeah. Okay, watch that space. Seve, Remus Smith on the wing, you know... Played 80 minutes, 10 runs for 55 metres. Like, he's a big boy.
But once again, Remus, like, he was playing centre last year, and I thought he was really good there.
I thought he was good too.
I was surprised he wasn't at centre.
But like, clearly he's not been playing that well at centre, because otherwise they would have put him there, because it's not like they got a dearth of centres just ready to go.
It's like they suddenly went from the centres that had worked for them for a few years to picking anyone else.
Yeah, very strange. And also what I think is strange is it coincides together.
Yeah.
Usually it's like one of them that's not going that well, but for both of them to go, see you later, into Resi's and then bring you back and they struggle.
I probably don't have enough understanding of it, and it's probably a guy Bellamy to sort it out. But like, I wonder, like, Olam come in there in that game defensively, he looked out of sorts. Young Tonu Mapea looked out of sorts before. I wonder if is it centres or is it something with that edge?
I honestly, if Pappy is good, but Alongo is good, I would train Meaney at centre all off season, because we all know Meaney will do the job. So you put a bit of bulk on him. We know he's a real team bloke. And I want to be really clear about what I was saying earlier. I still think Meaney's a good NRL player. I'm not saying that he's bad at all. I'm just saying that extra step. He absolutely deserves to be in that 17. He's been one of their best all year. But is he not the perfect guy to fill a hole and do a good job that needs to be filled? Like, he is the guy. He's out of all the back line, he's the one guy that really represents right now what it is to be a Storm player.
There was a moment a few weeks ago when Pappy first came on the field in one of those first games back, and you could see he ran over to Nick Meaney, and you could see he was like body language, oh, you're going to go to centre. And before he could even say it, Nick Meaney went, I'm centre, I'm good, and just went straight to do a job.
Yeah. So a whole off season there, I think a good doing well the good.
It's really weird. Soft Solomona played 34 minutes.
His end of season has been very strange.
And like, again, there'd be reasoning for it, and it's bellyache. I'm sure it was sound, whatever the reasoning was. We played 34 minutes. We knew going into this game that Melbourne had issues with their middles. We knew that if there were any chance, they had to aim up in the middle. And Nass was the man. You know, maybe it's putting too much pressure on Nass, but he was the bloke who had to step up. He played the first 17 minutes. Then I think it was the pushing incident on Cleary, and there was a break of what felt like about 5 minutes. It was long, and at the end of it, he got taken off when he would have been fine, like physically. Came off, came back on at the 50th minute of that game, and I believe it was when Christian Welch went off for a HIA, so maybe he was due to come on anyway, but came on again at the 50th minute. I'm like, surely you need to get bigger minutes out of that bloke in this game.
The other thing was when he came off in the 17th minute, did you see who came on for him? Harry Grant.
That's surely not in the plan.
Why wouldn't you have those two on the field at the same time?
Maybe Bellyache's like, he's about to get put in the
I think that's what it was. I reckon he thought he was about to
because Nelson will throw
bin or
punches.
something.
Like,
Yeah.
Maybe, but and I get that as well. But surely you just go, we need this bloke out here, and surely he's senior enough to go, mate. You got a bit of a hot head, but rein it in, get the message out to him.
But I agree with you. That's all definitely a bit surprising. I would love to know the insights. But even just his physicality in the back end of the season, I've been surprised at. Like on the weekend, 6 runs for 40 metres, 11 post contacts.
Maybe carrying something or something.
Maybe
that's why lower minutes. Maybe that's it.
Look, I know fans hate that, or if you say, but he must be. He's either not happy off the field or he's injured because this is Nelson Asafa-Solomona that we're talking about here. He busts through the best forward packs, like he is against the Broncos. We're getting pumped, and he was the only guy they were getting pumped, and he was the only guy that looked dangerous.
Like his last 5 weeks running meters: 40, 81, 104, 118, 83. From your strike middle forward.
From a guy like him, we know is genuinely one of the most dangerous forwards in the competition.
Like some of his numbers early in the year: 158, 170, 145, 180.
See, that's a huge drop off.
I'm picking out the best ones, but still, like, come on.
Well, that's what you would expect off a guy off on a big wicket.
Yeah.
And he is your impact player. Yeah. So, it really strange whatever's going on there. Maybe he's injured. Maybe, to be fair, has any player in this Storm side, aside from Nick Meaney, really been their best this year?
Yeah, and I think that's what, and I am guilty of it more than anyone. Just expecting so much from Nas, just because I know what he's capable of. Like the last 3 weeks, I've sat here in the week going, this has to be the biggest game of Nas's career.
Yeah, for sure.
None of them have been close to it.
It comes from genuine respect for Nas.
Yeah, respect for how good he is,
mate, he is unbelievable. And the fact that he's gotten through as many games as he had, as the size that he is, it's nothing short of a miracle. And you're right, it is a bit unfair on Nas because you're like, hang on a sec, what about all the other front rowers that have been playing all year that haven't really been delivering, unfortunately?
I just would have thought over the last 3 weeks, and I agree, I think there must be an injury or something because he went Haas, Collins, Fish. Like for me, I just would have thought that would have been such a huge opportunity for a guy like him to stamp his authority.
Yeah, really, really disappointing end to the season. They've been super gutsy. We've spoken about all their downfalls, but the key disappointment for me is not the fact they lost or even by how much they lost. It's the effort areas that Storm are known for that they usually don't get beaten in. It's the 65% completion and the 50 missed tackles that you go, that's not how you want to end your year. Now, maybe it's because they're gassed. I mean, look, when you look at these stats, it's like, this looks like a tired footy team because we all know they're better than that. They're absolutely better than that.
Can I ask you, the week before, they beat the Roosters on the last play with a kick crossfield. Who do you reckon would have done better against Penrith, Melbourne or the Roosters?
Roosters.
Yeah.
I mean, I said it in the messages, I thought Roosters deserved to win that game. Stupid statement because obviously Melbourne did because they won the game. But I thought Roosters, for most of the game, until it counted, were the better side. I think the Roosters absolutely give them more trouble.
Interesting, isn't it? Like that they've just got that grit that Melbourne had for years on years on years.
To be fair, when you look at their rosters, like at least in the forward pack, like that Roosters forward pack,
more of a pack.
Fucking hectic compared to.
I think it's interesting though. Like look at Craig Bellamy, he got to the end of 2016, and they got beat by Cronulla. They got outgrinded in the grand final, and Bellamy went, you know what, we need to change our game. They came into 2017 and played a more expansive brand. They almost need to now find a way to get back to that grind. So it's a big test for Bellamy.
He'll find a way. And the key is, and Timmy, you've already alluded to it, the key is they've got a world-class spine. So it's really only one or two. Whereas what's the problem that all these bottom-tier clubs face? No 6, no 7, no 1. And you're like, how do you go out and find that? Whereas they're guaranteed locked in for the next whatever years, an origin-level spine.
It's the best spine in the world.
Well, yeah, when Pappy is back, you got Pappy, Munster, Hughes and Grant all playing as good as they can play, easily the best spine.
Isn't it amazing like that you can have a spine like that and still be off by so much?
And still get so dominated by Mitch Kenny, Dylan Edwards, Cleary and Luai. Yeah. Everyone says Luai's overrated. I don't think so, but that's the yarn. Kenny just goes about his business. Edwards is seen as the battler fullback. You know what I'm saying? And yet they go out and put a clinic on Munster, Hughes, Grant.
Yeah.
which is just incredible by the Penrith Panthers. Now, store shout-outs. South Dubbo Tavern, get in there. Currently have a floor stack of Bloke beer while we're in the celebrations catalogue. Adamstown Celebrations, get in there, grab a case of Bloke beer. Adamstown in Newcastle, running a floor stack of Bloke for the finals footy period. Porter's Narrabeen, lovely bottle shop in the Northern Beaches in Sydney. Manager Dion always has a fresh stack of Bloke lager in the cool room, so show them some support, grab some Bloke beer. Terrigal Hotel, manager Brett has plenty of Bloke lager and Bloke mini in his cool room. Head in there, say hi. Crest Hotel Sylvania? Is that how you say it? Sylvania. Apologies. Isn't that near where I live?
Yes.
So I literally don't even know how to say
You would
that.
drive past, I reckon, 6 signs to Sylvania every day.
Look, pronouncing locations.
You should pop into Sylvania one time.
Should pop in, say hi, buy my own beer. Appen Celebrations. Albion Park Hotel Celebrations. Engadine Tavern. Red Beret Hotel. When I first read that, I said Red Beret. Red Beret Hotel. Pop in a Bottle Mart, drive in Cairns. Stay for some Bloke beers, lager, all the midi. Liquor Legends Canberra. Great supporters in the ACT. Timmy's never been in there. He doesn't care about Bloke beer. Johnny and the team are always stocking Bloke at Hawker and Charnwood. All Black Sheep bottle shops in Brisbane. So Black Sheep bottle shops in Brisbane stock Bloke beer on special for September footy's final catalogue. Currumbin Creek Tavern, just down the road from where my grandfather grew up. Used to go down all the time. How you locals? How you going? Sonny's Margate. Get up to the rooftop bar on the water's edge and enjoy a couple of Bloke beers on tap. Harry Brown's Eaton Hills, north side of Brizzy. Common Ground Cellars. See Dan close to the University of Queensland. Black Sheep Bottle Shop. Well, we already said that earlier. Black Nugget, Moranbah. This is what I got to deal with, people. This is what my staff give me. This is what I'm dealing with, all right?
He will read whatever is on the teleprompter.
Stafford Tavern. Head inside into the sports bar and bottle shop. Stafford Tavern's been with us since the start. Let's get into it. Broncos defeat the Warriors. 40 points to 12 because it says 40 points to 10 here. They beat them 40 points to 12, though. But my notes say 40 points to 10.
Right,
42 points to 12.
42
So I
to
still
12.
got it wrong.
42 to 12.
Yeah, don't worry about it, guys. Don't worry about it. Broncos defeat the Warriors 42 to 12. All right. Let's get it out of the way. Just wait. All right, Warriors fans, let's fucking do it, eh? Let's fucking do it. Okay, forward pass by Reece Walsh. My personal opinion, in the grand scheme of things, they still win the Brisbane Broncos. I don't think it affected the result, but I personally think that we spoke about unacceptable decisions, unacceptable calls from the referee and touch judges last week in the Harry Grant one. This was one of those unaccepted calls. Now, I will say that there is a little bit more of defence for the referee because of the angle that he was in. But both the touchies, for them to miss that is nothing short of outrageous. Nothing short of outrageous. And it's actually, in my opinion, and I think most Warriors fans, reasonable Warriors fans, believe that, okay, maybe we wouldn't have won the game, but it did rob us of an opportunity in a key part of the game to get back into it. And I think that's definitely a fair comment or a fair opinion to have. But a call like that, it robs both teams of a clean win or loss. If I feel like a lot of Warriors fans, if that play didn't happen and they still lost 42 to 12, be like, you know what? We got dominated by a really good Brisbane side. We lost cleanly. But the problem is that Warriors fans have to go away going, what would have happened in that moment if that was called forward? Would have we scored that next set and then it's 24 to 16 or 24 to 18 and all of a sudden we're back in the match? Broncos fans have to deal with, oh, you wouldn't have won if that forward pass didn't happen. And we sit there, oh, come on, guys. Like, we won by 30 points. Surely the forward pass isn't the reason why we won it. So I actually think both fans suffer from such a bad call. And even if the Broncos most likely still would have won the game, it's an unacceptable call. Both touch judges, even the video ref, just whisper in it. Just whisper in his ear. Just a little whisper, baby. That was 10 metres forward. Just say that. I don't understand how we can let those go. Boys.
How painful was it watching the replay, watching when it went upstairs and everyone has to watch a blatant no try, but we can't do anything about it.
And look, I get it. I don't want the bunker ruling on every forward pass that goes on in the game. But surely let's apply some common sense. Like, that is so outrageous. Just call it a knock-on. Call it intentionally forward. Do you know what I mean? Call it intentionally forward. Say he intentionally threw that forward, therefore it's a penalty. Like, anything. It doesn't make sense.
And this is where it gets hard because, people's knee-jerk reaction to that is we have to be able to call forward passes and, sure, but we will be checking everything. And can you imagine? Like, yes, there is that one howler that was a shocker. There is no doubt about it. But could you imagine how many line balls we would get wrong if we were able – because the last thing I want to say – and people called for it this weekend. I really don't think people are thinking this through. Do you really want every single try to be sent upstairs and for them to draw lines on the fucking screen to make sure every single pass?
Mate.
It's
and also, like, even ball technology, it's just like – we're just adding another reason for more stops to be in the game.
As soon as you have stops, you all complain about it. Oh, the game's too slow. It fucking sucks. We hate this.
Yeah.
The odd howler is worth it, not to make a game go for an extra hour because they go upstairs for every forward pass.
And very rarely do these howlers cost games. And Warriors fans might want to tell me it cost them a game. It didn't.
Absolutely didn't.
It's a prelim final. You allowed 11 line breaks. You allowed 25 offloads and missed 50 tackles.
Yeah.
It goes deeper than that one play that happened.
Yeah.
And teams are on the bad end of shit decisions all the time. It happens, let's be fair, most weeks in rugby league. Yeah. We know Roosters and Storm last week you spoke about. But
and I know Warriors fans will be sitting there going, yeah, but it happens to us more often. I actually think the Warriors fans, at least for this year, have been pretty good on the end of – they've got some pretty good 50-50 calls go their way. Actually, I remember one happening, and I remember the fans going, you know what, fuck, happens to all of us. At least we got one this time. I forget what it was, but there was a huge call that went their way towards the end of the season. Again, though, like, I still believe like that is such an unacceptable, like, touchies. I know I'm pro referee, guys, so please, you shouldn't insult them, you shouldn't abuse them. It's not like they intentionally did it, but I just don't understand, because when you watch that replay, if you go back and watch it closely, Adam Pompey, who is like behind Reece Walsh, puts his hands up and blows up. And that's what I don't get, is like, how did Adam see it, but no touchy saw it? It just baffles me. When I see stuff like that, I'm like, are we just like, not intentionally letting those go, but it just doesn't make sense that we can call the Wade Egan one where he just jumps out of dummy half. It's a line ball. It's 50-50. Sometimes you get him, and then we don't call that one. I just don't get it. And some people have said, Reece Walsh was too quick. But it's like, bro, Reece Walsh is quick, but he's not that much quicker than
He doesn't move the speed of light.
Yeah,
not
like,
far off it, but not quite there.
You telling me Reece Walsh is that much quicker than Billy Slater? Like, come on, guys. He's quick, but he's a human being. It would be like literally 0.5 of a second that he'd be quicker over 10 metres than Billy Slater or any of the other fullbacks that are quick.
It was a Hall of Famer for all-time Barrys, wasn't it?
And the concern going forward is that's 2 games in a row with absolutely Barry calls. And again, I'm a referee supporter. We should not abuse them at all. But how can you not, as a rugby league fan or as a Warriors fan or a Roosters fan, feel like you've been shafted when you support your team all year long, you pay money all year long, and it's something that seems so obvious, 3 people can't see?
Thank God it wasn't 24-22 full-time or something like.
Because then you really could say it cost them the game. Definitely. Because it was a try.
Yeah.
It literally was a try.
It is bizarre that, like, they don't, and I understand you can't rule on forward passes, but fuck, even if you don't tell us you've got it, surely they should have a mic in a ref's ear to just occasionally go, whoa, hold on. You've missed by a country mile here. You might be 2 seconds late. Just call it though.
Yeah, and don't tell us.
And it's like the emergency red button.
Yeah.
Don't tell us. We don't have to know.
Yeah. We don't have to know. Just the ref can say he saw it. Yeah. Whatever. Like with situations like that where it's so hectic, just take care of it. Like, and you know what? There has been, there is what's the word? Not prerequisite, but a standard set to a degree. There has been tries where they know that a bad call's been made, so they look for other things. So it has happened before. It has happened before. And
unfortunately, the only other thing that went wrong in that play was the second forward pass.
Yeah.
That they also couldn't rule on.
You know what? They should have gone up to the video ref and said, too hot. Reece Walsh, too hot. That's why you didn't get the penalty, bro. And we would have been like, you know what? Fair enough. Fair enough. I'll take the too hot penalty than that call. What are you going to say, Matty?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm going to be in the minority here. I don't think I agree with what you guys just said, that the bunker should clue up the ref, because I think we saw, like last week was a one in, like how often do we see something like that? Like I know we see absolute howlers, but that was an absolute howler. I reckon the best example is 2 weeks ago when Dylan Lucas scored. The first 50 angles of that, you're like, wow, that's such an obvious full pass. And then you look at that one sneaky camera angle around the side, which showed it actually came backwards out of the hands. I reckon there's just too much grey area.
That's a 50, like that's
a proper, we're stressing on passes like this, like it is red button shit, break the glass, we need it now. Because this is a travesty.
If that's the case, then that would have been the only one of the year.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that's what we're saying. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like in the Harry Grant situation, you just that was like 1,000,000% a knock on. We're not saying you use it for every game. We're saying it for like this huge moments, huge game. Like matter of fact, maybe don't even use it in season.
Yeah, for nothing else, use it just in finals.
Just in finals where like the game is on the line. We're not sitting there going the Dylan Lucas one that may or may not be forward. Yeah, it looks kind of forward. We're talking about one that literally like even as soon as it happened, you heard Cam Smith go, oh, because he was like, what the
Yeah, and even more so to our point, Matty, I don't want to know about it.
Yeah.
And I don't want us to even be aware of it or talk about it.
Don't tell anyone. It was a ref's decision. It was a touchy's decision. Seriously, anyway. So I understand why Warriors fans feel. I get where Warriors are coming from. When they're saying we just want a clean loss, give us a clean loss without that, so we can just go. You know what? We weren't as good. And Broncos, give us a clean win. Anyway, let's get into the game now. Broncos defeat the Warriors. First of all, so proud of the Brizzy Broncos. I mean, what a season! What an incredible, I guess, turnaround. But it is a turnaround technically, but we saw this last year with this squad. They were at the top of the table for a period. They were a top 4 side for essentially most of the season. So it is definitely a turnaround, but to see them get into a grand final, I don't think people appreciate how much could have gone wrong for them heading into this end of the season. And to do it where you take off Paddy Carrigan, Reece Walsh and Reynolds, basically with 20 to 15 minutes to go, it's pretty incredible. I'm super, super proud of the boys. For the Warriors, they can hold their heads high. Like, I think that it's become pretty apparent, and we've been saying it for quite a while. Broncos and Panthers are on a different level. They're on a different tier this year. Now, maybe that will change when the Warriors get some recruits in or whatever, but unfortunately, I just don't know whether any other team, as it stands, has not only the roster, but also the form in 2023 to compete with Broncos and Panthers. And when you look at the score lines of Broncos and Panthers in this final series, do you have this as a stat or?
No.
Okay. If you look at the score lines, it's like 68 to 10 for the Broncos. Could you get it up? Yeah. Or like maybe 68 to 12, sorry. And then the Panthers is like 70 to 10. In 2 finals games, that's their score. It shows you just how much better these two sides are.
Yeah, 68-12 for Bronx.
Yeah, shows you how much better these sides are.
And I know it sucks for Warriors fans. You know, I said it 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't think they're at the level of Penrith and Brisbane, and they're not. But, fuck, you're now better than 14 other teams. This time last year, I would have told you there was 14 teams that were better than you. Like, you have come so far, and I thought that in the face of all the adversity and all the referee decisions and everything, God, I thought the coach was fantastic in his press conference.
Handled like a pro.
You said, we need to take care of our shit. And that's what's going to win you a comp eventually. That attitude, not pointing fingers.
Well, he literally said they made a line break to make that error.
Exactly right.
And it's like,
and this is exactly what we spoke about 3 months ago when the sponsor came out and blew up, and we said, that's not what Webby's trying to build here. And Webby finally gets his opportunity, and he absolutely nails it.
Yeah.
SJ Johnson in an interview, I don't know when it was exactly recorded, but I was watching it yesterday, and he was asked about Webster and the impact he's had on the club this season. He was just saying that he's the ultimate professional. He said always the first bloke there when he rocks up in the morning, and as he's leaving, he's always still there. And he mentions how he never gets rattled, and that's a great example of like how composed he was in the post-game interview. SJ said that they lost 3 in a row earlier in the year, and there was a bit of panic sort of starting to set in, and Webby just didn't change at all, and he was fine and never seemed flustered or anything, and it just shone through the whole season.
Yeah.
And like the Warriors, sure, disappointing end of their season, but they go into next year. They've had a whole year together with a bunch of new faces. Webby inherited this team, He'll be able to put a few different touches on it, probably get a few new faces in exactly what he wants. 3 games of finals experience behind him. That will go so far in the next 12 to 24 months.
Well, 3 games of finals experience, and you add Roger back in.
And Roger.
Ooh, and
That's worth another 5 games.
Yeah, as well. So it's I think the Warriors did I think they represented themselves. I know the scoreline. Look, it's interesting because like watching that game, I don't know, maybe because I was so nervous as a Broncos fan, but did it really feel like a 42-12? I don't know.
Warriors had a lot of opportunities.
Yeah,
mate.
I felt like
their
were
attack looked good. They, a bit clunky at times, but when they were attacking the Broncos line in that 20, it looked bloody good.
Were giving us massive troubles. Like they were stripping us by like 2 or 3 numbers.
It was almost my favourite play of the weekend, despite the Warriors losing, but as a footy nerd, I loved it. The try that they scored down the left side, exact same play as last week with Jackson Ford and Adam Fanua-Blake. Last week they went to Adam Fanua-Blake. You could tell all eyes were on him, and they just went out the back, and that's when they stripped those 2 or 3 numbers.
I loved there were 2. There was the no try, SJ passing in behind Staggs, which was eventually ruled off. And the first try, when all the Warriors fans would have been going, we're on here, that sequence, they went down the right edge and I think SJ turned Niokora back on the inside. They went back down the short side the next play. I think they settled one back into the middle. Then it was on the last tackle of the set. Didn't think run or whatever. SJ was like, they're not going to stop us. And Dallin scored in the corner. They went down the exact same edge 3 times in 4 tackles. And got him. 4 minutes into the game, you're going, oh, geez, that's good.
Unreal. Yeah.
I think that the Warriors should take a lot of confidence out of the fact that when they were in good ball, and I spoke about this before the game, is their attack is as good as anyone's in the competition. I mean, that says something. That is not something to sniff at where you go, oh yeah, it's just, it's only in good ball or whatever. The ability to put on points. Look at the Roosters. Imagine if the Roosters had the same ability to put on points the way the Warriors did. They'd probably be in a bloody prelim or maybe even a grand final. So it's nothing to sniff at. So the only thing with the Warriors, and we'll stay on the Warriors now and then we'll go back to the Broncos. The only concern I have with the Warriors, and maybe it was just due to the fact that, Broncos forward pack was just so good with the ball and offloading, but I did feel like they got torn apart by the Broncos forward pack. They really struggled in defence to win that initial contact. Whereas when the Warriors were coming out of trouble, the Broncos were very, very good at just, as the first contact, they'd just stop them straight away. And I think that's what the Panthers do so well. Not only do the Panthers hit you, they actually drag you back, which must be super annoying. Whereas the Broncos, when they were coming out of trouble, they were nearly making there was a period there, I think the first 20 or maybe 30, where the Broncos had 1,100 metres and the Warriors had 600 metres. Which shows you just how explosive that forward pack is when it gets rolling. So that's probably the biggest concern for the Warriors going forward.
Well, and it'll be interesting to see, this has to be a huge off-season for that pack because, what we've learned and what they've learned is that they can beat up good and great packs, but elite packs, they're not at that level just yet. So how they come back next year, I'm so excited to see how the Warriors go. And it's like I spoke about it the preseason last year. For me, the 3 teams that jumped up in finals last year were Parramatta, Cowboys, Sharks. And we said probably 2 of them will miss the finals. 2 of them missed the finals, and 1 of them went out in the week 1 of finals after making a huge jump. The Warriors have made a huge jump this year. There's a reason why there's only X amount of teams that are top 4 teams every single year. Yeah, because it's bloody hard to do. It's going to be a huge test for the Warriors. Hopefully getting Roger back in and a good injury run and everything can keep them up there, but I really hope that they can keep this going.
Yeah. Just on, you're right, Kempy, the contact in D was quite poor from the Warriors, especially from what we've seen from them this year. And Guru mentioned earlier at the start of the game, 48 missed tackles, but also 42 ineffective tackles compared to 21 from the Broncos. So and you mentioned it as well earlier, I think 23 offloads from the Broncos. The contact just wasn't there. They just got dominated.
Yeah, so I wonder how you fix that.
And even Dallin made 2 brilliant reads shooting in off his wing, but fell off 2 tackles to let tries in. And it's the read was there, but the contact wasn't. There was a couple, and he wasn't the only one. So,
and it's the hardest part of the game to get right because it's the hardest work. No one wants to be rocking up to training and doing defence. I remember we used to have this thing at the Broncos where however many tackles you missed in a game, you had to go into the sandpit and do 5 tackles per miss or whatever. And so it was at the end of training, it was like a Tuesday or a Monday or whatever, and you're just in the pits, and then you go into this sandpit filled with poo and shit and fucking just leaves and just dirty, and you've got to make it however many you missed. I think it was like 2 for however you missed, whatever the number was. But yeah, you were in that sandpit getting all grazed up or whatever. And that's just like one part of trying to make sure that contact's good. And so it's going to be interesting to see what Webby does. Does he bring in a defensive coach? Does he, change his systems about? Does he work on the contact? Because against the Panthers, he spoke about, after the Knights game, he spoke about against the Panthers that they weren't playing like themselves. They were almost too aggressive. Yep. But I do feel like, and I think he was right, I think they came out and didn't play like themselves. But on the opposite side of things, if you be too kind of systemy and instead of shooting up and getting 8 metres up, you get 5 metres up to make sure that you've got all good wrestle, that's when you can lose the contact. And it's actually what Broncos do really well is they're so aggressive in defence that, okay, maybe they might, they could gas or they could have players, they could get stripped of numbers. At the very least, they're going to win the contact because they're coming up so aggressive. And so I wonder what Webby's going to do. And I've got faith that he's going to be smart enough to find the answer to this. But the problem for the Warriors players, it takes a lot of hard work to sort that.
And I mean, this is the exact conversation we were having about Todd Payton last year, wasn't it? We were so high and so confident on him coming into the season. A lot of people had them winning the comp. Obviously didn't make the finals this year. So huge test for the Wars.
I think the positive for the Wars and the hindsight hero you could say about the Cowboys, when the Cowboys had that season, they all spoke about we had the craziest preseason ever. We were constantly doing sessions out of nowhere, and Peyton was all about making us feel comfortable when we're uncomfortable. You heard about their defensive stuff in their preseason constantly. Whereas I haven't really heard, I've heard we worked hard in the preseason for the Warriors, but I haven't really heard that much from Warriors players talking about this was the craziest preseason we've ever done. And when I hear that, I go, okay, so it wasn't like they just got worked so hard, they were, beaten into blades of steel. They were just, I guess, in a good environment that made them feel happy and enjoy their play. So that gives me confidence. But as you said, Kira, you just don't know. You don't know. They could be the Cowboys of this year.
Yeah. I hope they're not.
Oh, I hope they're not.
Because it has been so fun to watch it this year.
I've got confidence that they'll be at least in the top 8 next year. Maybe not top 4 because they're no longer the team that can ambush. But we'll get in that season review or preview. In regards to performances, I thought Chance was great again. I thought he took some really tough carries where the Broncos were really dominating the forward pack. And, I said going into the game, laterally, sometimes the Broncos can struggle because, A, they're big athletes, high-performance athletes. But, B, when you're shooting up out of the line, a little bit of late footwork can just throw you completely out of shot. And I thought Chance was really good at that. Every time they were under the pump, he would take a real tough carry. He may not have made that many metres, but he would get a quick play the ball nearly every time. So I thought Chance played quite well.
I think something you just mentioned there, mate, is something that I think that, average fans and myself too probably underappreciate a little bit. It's that late footwork. How much it can throw you and how much you can just lose a tackle on though. Yeah. It's one thing I've noticed, especially watching that Terrell May over the last few weeks. His footwork and it just disrupts everything, doesn't it?
Oh, mate. Well, I mean, guys like Jaden Campbell and even me when I played, we should be getting absolutely rissoled every play. And yet, obviously Campbell's better than me, but Campbell, he gets dominated sometimes, but nowhere near as much as he should. And it's all because when he gets to the line, he puts on a little bit of late footwork just gets his body. I mean, look at Reece Walsh. He almost dives into the line with his late footwork. And that's what that's what makes Penrith so hard to stop, because not only they've got To'o and Taruva and Edwards with late footwork, they're both super strong in contact. So even when you think you've got line speed on them, the next guy, late step, boom, he's straight through the line, and then you're just fucking on the back foot the whole set. Wateni Zelezniak, definitely a mixed bag for him. Had some really good moments, but also, those when he did jam in, he missed those tackles. But the 2 tries, I mean, that intercept try, didn't it make the stadium go, almost take a breath uh-oh. Yeah. Are we witnessing a boil over here? Obviously, the Broncos managed to pull it in together. Who stood out for you boys in the Warriors?
Mate, I thought that Jackson Ford, now he had a great season. I think he's one that's going to be really, really good for the run this year. I think he would have learned a lot of lessons the back end of this season. He's come up with a few poor plays in the last few weeks, and he obviously had that when he was at first marker, wasn't he?
Yeah, that was a shocker.
It was a tough one there, yeah, and that's all. And I think a lot of Ford's errors over the last few weeks have come down to concentration. He had he had one a few weeks ago where there was a loose ball on the ground. He dove on it and he tried to offload late and Jazz knocked on. I think he's had a great season and I'm a huge forward fan, but I think he would have learned a lot of lessons from the back end of this season. I'm excited to see how he comes back next year.
You mentioned just like a tiny lapse in concentration, and there was for the Walters try where it just dove over from dummy half, and you're like, that's the difference between winning and losing a preliminary final and being in a grand final, isn't it?
I will say, I'm surprised, Guru. I thought you were more of a Holden man. What? One of your best, Beak. Woo!
Oh, that wraps
Not
it
your
up.
worst, but definitely not your best.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
this is a big field.
A bloke that I thought was outstanding for the Warriors and probably player of the match. I know he didn't play that many minutes, but when Dylan Walker came on in that first half, he completely changed the complexion of the game. I thought that the Broncos, again, it's that smaller forward or that smaller player with a bit of footwork that really gave him trouble. Mate, he was outstanding when he came on. I think he had to come off for a HIA, and then all of a sudden they lost some momentum again. I thought he was really good.
Yeah, it's crazy the impact he's had on the Warriors, isn't it? Like, especially when you just think about his career. Like, he started off as the best young centre in rugby league, moved to 5'8", and now he's just a middle forward that just comes on and terrorises. Like, in a pack of giants, he's the one that almost has the most impact sometimes.
He's. I thought he was really good, and doesn't it show you, we talk about, even in Origin, for example, how sometimes it can feel like for New South Wales recently that there's almost not really a plan for selections. It's almost, let's wait and see the best form or whatever, and then we select them. Whereas doesn't it show you Webster's incredibly good pre-planning for the year? Because when he came to the club, Dylan Walker, a lot of people were like, oh, he's on a big wicket. Are you going to try and squeeze him here and there? Webster was actually very strong in saying, no, he has been purchased specifically as a 14 to come on and impact the game.
Yeah.
So he didn't... I think a lot of coaches, especially rookie coaches, wouldn't commit themselves to something like that. They'd be, we're going to see how he goes, and, Tomato Martin, he might be okay. Metcalf, we're not really sure about him. Maybe we put Walker in 6. And I know they did when he was injured. But for him to have the foresight to lock in to the that's a coach with a clear plan that he's sticking to no matter what.
And it makes the player's life so much easier.
Mate.
Like these poor old utilities who get thrown around 5-6 different positions throughout the year and throughout their career in general. It's such a specialist skill, and it's why so few players can do it effectively. But it's hard because they can't, really spend all their time trying to nail down one position.
Well, your body weight changes.
Yeah, everything changes. So, if they have this open-end, Dylan, we're going to see what the team needs. We get through pre-season, you might be a forward, you might be a back. But for just be able to go, mate, you'll be a utility off the bench, but you're coming on as a middle forward, as a ball-playing forward, that's what you work on.
Mate,
It makes life easy.
So much easier because it changes everything for how he trains in the whole freaking preseason. He knows that he needs to be a certain type of fitness for that role. So it's short burst fitness. He doesn't need to be a guy that can play 80 minutes. He needs to be a guy that can come on for 20 minutes, high intensity, high repeat speeds, and then come off. That literally changes your whole body type. You can afford to have a little bit more muscle mass rather than lean out, because if you're playing 80 minutes, obviously you need to be pretty lean. Mate, it's so important. And I think that if you need another example of that, look at Kalen Ponga, beefed up for his 6 role. For the first few weeks, you could see that he didn't really have the explosiveness he usually does at fullback, loses muscle mass. By the end of the year, he was moving like we know KP can move. It genuinely matters. And it frustrates me sometimes when fans don't really appreciate, mate, he's trained his whole off-season as a centre and now he's a fullback. Like, you've got to cut him some slack so he has some time to adjust to the role. I thought he was great off the bench. Tohu Harris, once again, got through so much work. Jeez, his body must be hanging on by a thread. It is seriously impressive how much tough stuff he gets through. And also, like, how consistently he plays a role in games. Like, you almost wait for him, okay, well, he's had these injuries and, a few nigglies here or there, but he just keeps trucking. Against like one of the most explosive, or probably the most explosive pack in the NRL, in the Brisbane Broncos, who dominated the Warriors a fair bit. Tohu came out and played 74 minutes, 17 runs for 143 metres. Like,
Do you remember 2 weeks before finals, the rumour was he wasn't going to play finals?
Yeah.
Like, he is it's crazy how the Warriors, like, they always just have this sort of player, like a Simon Mannering, or they've always just got one true warrior.
It's almost like it's in
Michael
their
Lark.
Kiwi.
Michael Lark, yeah.
Yeah. Like
The Kevin Campions and those sort of guys before. Yeah.
It's like it's in their DNA almost. It is, especially Tohu. Doesn't Tohu Harris and Manning did as well for sure, but like just that he represents that Māori kind of warrior, like in there. It's been in their DNA for thousands and thousands of years, and it feels like he must have been descended from some crazy chieftain from 1,000 years ago. Do you know what I mean? It must be in his blood.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like that's
He's
the way he
man.
plays. Like it's just, and that's the reason why he's a captain. I was descended from a toucan.
Oh my god! You've recovered from that hold call very quickly, mate. You're back.
I'll tell you what, we'll clip up all my jokes from this episode and we'll release them, and we'll see what the people think. Who else stood out for you boys?
The stats don't show it, but Sean Johnson was excellent, I thought. Like, he's paid to get him around the park, but Sean Johnson to this team, when you're attacking their 20, that's where he shines, and I thought he did. Because he didn't throw the last pass for either try, the Montoya try or the Dallin try, he doesn't get the line break assist, he doesn't get the try assist, but both those tries were not all, 75% Sean Johnson, and he's brilliant. Particularly the Montoya one where he straightened up so hard that he was almost running an unders line by the end of it. You just saw every Broncos player turn in, banging out the back, thanks for coming. I thought SJ was really good.
And there's another part of his game that, we know he can do all that, but what I love the most about SJ's game is Broncos were targeting him massively, almost to the point of like ruining their sets. Like sometimes it would be like a late pass all the way across to get Catewell or whoever it was, a wide running forward, on him constantly. Now, it says he missed 6 tackles, but SJ from a few years ago, it's the way he missed those tackles. It would have been jumping out, letting him go past and trying to tackle one. What I loved about SJ's performance is there wasn't a time that I watched anyway, and maybe there's clips, but that I watched where he didn't put his body in front to get the contact. And he may have been bumped off, but he still put his body in front. And that's all you can ask from your 7. It's all you can ask.
It's amazing what just a clean bill of health can do for you. Like I know he had the lingering calf injury for a little bit there, but just the fact that he's strung together 25 odd games this year, what it does for your confidence in D and getting in front, and just such a game changer.
I will say, I thought, I know that he suffered a head knock towards the end. I thought Wade Egan defensively really struggled with that big Broncos pack. Now, it's probably a bit harsh to specifically talk about him because I think that most nines struggle with that big Broncos pack. But it was a game where I thought, he didn't really have the same impact he usually has over that 60, 70 minute. I know he's only on for 70, 60 minutes or so. He struggled a little bit, but I don't think that's on him. I just think that Broncos forward pack is a nightmare for any number 9 outside of maybe your best defensive 9s, whereas Egan's known for his craftiness around the ruck. So I did think he struggled a little bit through the ruck there. Incredible season for Egan, though.
Didn't we put the jinx on Adam Pompey and his goal kicking last week? We wrapped him galore. I think he'd gone 7 from 8 in the last 2 weeks, and then poor bastard went 0 from 3 there.
Yeah, far out.
Guilty of that.
Yeah, he struggled big time, unfortunately. Who else stood out for you boys? Was that about it?
I think that just about does
major,
it for
mate,
me.
yeah.
Really good year for the Warriors. And, a guy like Egan, who he's been nominated, hasn't he, for Dally M Hooker of the Year? What an incredible
As he
achievement.
should. Yeah, good.
As he should. And if he wins it, I wouldn't push that hard back against it. I do think like Harry Grant has had some really, really good games, but he was a little bit quiet there for a period. So I wouldn't be shocked if Egan does pip him.
Oh, I think it'd be almost fair to call Egan the most consistent hooker this year.
He's been so good. And you could tell he was going out on his shield. Bloody hell, he's throwing himself at tackles towards the end there, so much so he freaking knocked himself out.
Talk about a warrior by nature as well. That bloke, he gets beaten up and he gets head knocks every game.
Mate, and just keeps...
Yeah.
Doesn't take a backward step. And as I said, he did struggle with those big boppers, but he never stepped away from the contact, which you just got to respect it. A little fella like that. Imagine dealing with Haas, Flegler and Carrigan running at you like that. Oh, nightmare stuff. Now, onto the Brizzy Broncos. I'm going to be 100% honest. When Selwyn Cobbo ran down and tackled Charles Klukstad without even looking, and then Jesse Arthurs dropped a sitter, I thought my nightmares have come to life. I thought that we were about to watch a boil over and the boys had got it ahead of themselves, the crowd, everything was just getting to their heads and they just weren't focused. So for the first 20, 30, even half, if you wanted to be generous, I was like, I think the boys might have been, their completion rate is terrible, they're making way too many errors, they're getting ahead of themselves. But similar-ish to the Storm side, they came out in the second half, they calmed down, and they went back to what they do best, which is taking their opportunities when they come, but also completing at a bit of a higher rate. Really, really good win for the Warriors. I will say they still didn't get near to where they could play potentially. I think their best rugby league is still a ways from that performance, but a 42-12 win and then a 26-0 win the week before, geez, you can't ask for much more than that.
The Selwyn Cobbo tackle on, who was it, sorry?
Chance, I think.
Chance, yeah. I was actually... I was stuck in a bit of traffic on the way home, so I missed the very start, and all my group chats just all said the same thing. Jesus, Selwyn. I thought, this is so exciting. I can't wait to see what it is, and it did not disappoint. It was unreal.
God, talk about just like losing your head. Yeah.
But then later in the game, he made a break down that edge where I thought, he's going to be tempted to kick or throw a wild pass infield here. Just took the tackle.
Yeah. But then later on in that game, he made one of the greatest runs all time and kicked instead of passing to Walshy.
Pass to Walsh or anyone else and they score. I'd say if he didn't even kick or pass, he probably scores himself.
Yeah, probably.
He just wanted to see me dance. It was such interesting just seeing how that game unfolded and how the Broncos responded, as you said, Kempy, to what was a poor start. The Cobbo, brain snap, and the Warriors scored early. All the pressure was on the Broncos, and you're just like, okay, this is going downhill very early. Yep. Pressure at the big stage. Can they handle it? Can they not? Was looking grim. Said some early mistakes. Finished the game with an 82% completion, 42-12, dominant victory. The 82% completion is fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but it was a slow start by them. A very initial part of that game. There's a lot more they can offer the Broncos.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just because of how they play, but God, it didn't feel like 82% to me.
It didn't at all. And I think it's because the first half was so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, 82%, if you had showed me that stat, I'd be like, bloody oath, what a game.
Second half must have been huge.
Yeah, whereas when you watch the game, you're like, geez Louise, this is 70% completion rate. I will say, far out Payne Haas, yes, we can talk about his incredible feats and the way he plays, whatever, but the way his carries almost hold the same weight as a veteran speaking to everyone going, boys, fucking settle down and let's just go forward. The amount of times that he just straightens up our attack and almost says to everyone, boys, just fucking tuck it and let's run and we'll roll over them and we'll get the points. And I thought that was a real takeaway from the game where he may not be the most vocal behind the line, the goal line, or the most vocal on the field, but his carries speak volumes. And the energy that the team take from that, it's almost as valuable as the actual carry, which is usually incredible. As I said, the amount of times where we were looking a bit sideways and things weren't going our way, and Payne Haas just said, give me the bloody ball, and he would just go fucking ham straight ahead. And it would just change our whole sets. You could see the energy being fed off by the rest of the boys. And I think it's a really good example of not all leaders need to be verbal leaders. Yeah. He's a real, I'm going to lead with my actions and get on my back. I also think, as I said earlier, geez, you could tell he was out there to go, you know what? Adam Blake, you want to go toe-to-toe? Let's see who the best man is. He took it personal. He took it real personal, and I love that about Payne Haas.
Imagine running out onto a field and realising that Payne Haas has taken it personal with you.
Well,
Miss me with that.
I think it shows you maturity because remember his Origin debut where he was out smiling on the field? And it was a real point of contention with people of does he understand the gravity? And I think people were a little bit harsh on him for one. He's a teenager. But I do think that this version of Payne probably wouldn't go out and smile in that situation for two reasons. Because he knows what the media will do, they'll run with it. But also just the message it might send to the boys around him. Yeah. Whereas this version of Payne Haas, he's going out there going, I'm not just happy to be there. Whereas I look at that Origin series, although I don't think he played poorly at all, but he was almost like, I'm a rookie, I'm 19 years old, I'm just I've got a Blues jersey on, how good is this? And I think this version of Payne is a very, very scary Payne to deal with because you're not looking at him going, oh, he's just happy to be there, or he's young, or whatever, even though he's still only 23, he's becoming confident in his ability to be better than his opposition, which is the scariest state you can have Payne in, because as soon as he, I know it sounds stupid, but when he realises how much better he is, as we saw on the weekend, he absolutely decimates teams.
I was actually thinking on the weekend, just watching him, and obviously, that was at a packed-out Suncorp Stadium, everyone cheering him on, like how different it was only 18 months ago.
Yeah.
The entire Suncorp booing him, and I was just thinking, like, fuck. But the way that all played out, it might have been the best thing for Brisbane ever, just to completely humble this guy, completely. And I think he's just matured so much, and I think he's realised how important he can be to the Broncos, and I think he's also realised probably more so how important the Broncos are to him. It's scary.
Yeah, and maybe look, the booing, everyone has a right to do what they want, because you pay obviously you've got a right within reason, but you pay for your tickets, you sit down or whatever, and they were expressing how they felt about it. I do think that he was maybe misled with some people above him that released those things, but so he may not have deserved it to a degree, but you're right, even if he didn't deserve it, I love the fact that he's such a fighter. He didn't run away from it. He faced it front on and said, you know what? I'm going to make you love me.
It's actually very true. I agree with you. I don't think he did deserve it, but it served the same purpose.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he turned it. He turned and faced it head on and said, you know what? I don't need to say anything. I'm going to make you love me again. And now look where he is. He is one of the most beloved players at the Broncos, and the players love him more than anything. And he didn't need to say a word. Not a word was said about it. The only thing he said about it was a bit confronting when it happened, which, as it would. Could you imagine your own fans after everything you'd done?
Yep.
But geez, he's turned into a beast.
You let your actions do the talking, and when every single game he comes out and runs for 150 plus metres, if not 200 plus metres, and just rolls up his sleeves, takes the tough carries, week in, week out, plays as many minutes as are needed of him, steps up on the big stage in finals football. How could you not love him?
Oh, mate. 19 runs, 228 metres, 91 post-contact, 2 tackle breaks, a line break, which was scaring but also entertaining.
Did anyone have any idea he had those afterburners on him?
Mate, like, as I said, I feel like we're spoiled with Payne Haas. We're so used to him doing this that we're just like, oh, how good Payne Haas. That should not happen. That should not happen with a guy that big.
Well, not only it shouldn't happen, it has never happened.
No.
Unbelievable. 3 offloads, 33 tackles, 0 misses, as usual, 0 errors. Like, tell me a front rower that's doing those kind of numbers is just in a prelim final. That's why I am so, so, so excited to see him against the Panthers, because it's all well and good doing against everyone knows Payne Haas is a step above most teams, but if he does something similar-ish against the Penrith Panthers, it goes into territory of one of the greater knocks of all time.
And that's where it's unbelievable in this comp that, like, I just spoke about the Warriors. I said, hey, you're better than 14 other sides, but you're not as good as those top 2. Now, you could say the same about the Broncos. They're better than 15 other sides, but are you better than that one?
Are they on their own tier?
Yeah.
As it stands, no, they're not. Could be different in 7 days' time.
Well, interesting. It's 1-for-1 this year. They won round 1. They lost the second game. So this is the tiebreaker. And if Broncos win, it means that they're a better club, like, overall. That's what I'm hearing.
This bloke.
This guy.
It erases their last 2 premierships, in my opinion. Just my opinion. But what a test, though. And how interesting that 2 of the youngest squads in the competition are in the grand final.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about this on the way to the podcast this morning. What I hope comes from this grand final, obviously I hope Broncos win, but you remove that. What I hope as a rugby league fan we get from this is one of the greatest rivalries in the modern era, because you've got 2 extremely young teams. Now, I know Renault's a bit towards the end, but I do have confidence the Broncos will be able to bring someone else in. Really, relatively young packs. We could be seeing these guys for the next 5 years play some of the highest quality rugby league we've ever seen. Because when you look at these 2 squads, their ages, the way they play, the level that they're at, this could be the start of a special rivalry.
And it could be like an origin sort of rivalry.
Yeah.
Granted, half your Broncos team is New South Welshmen, but there are a few Queenslanders sprinkled in there.
It's really, really
Your halfback, your front row forward, your centre. It's all the guys we've spoken about so far.
Yeah, I wonder why they get that blue jersey on and they just don't seem to...
Oh, don't turn on your boys. Careful.
I'm turning on the Blues.
Careful.
You know why? Because they probably should be maroon jersey because they are a week in, week out.
So what you're saying that they're not big game players? Well,
It's a very good point, Kempy.
No,
Valid.
what I'm saying
Typical.
is that blue jersey seems to poison them. That's what I'm saying.
I didn't win a spoon in a blue jersey.
Oh, well, hopefully you can win an Origin series over the next 10 years or so.
I won't hold my breath.
I will say that Payne Haas was outstanding for you guys this series.
he always is.
He was one of your best. I can't wait for Origin next year. Holy shit. I know it's so far away, but like, can you imagine the fucking build up? And like, it's Origin. Anyone can win. I hate this idea that people go, oh yeah, you know, this team's just going to dominate. Like, no way. This is Origin.
Campy, we've been going for 3 hours already. I don't have time for a 2024 Origin preview.
Apologies. I want to know what directions New South Wales head in. And I think it's a 50-50 ball game heading into this next series. Okay.
Talk about your fucking Broncos, for the love of God, please.
It's all right. All right. Sorry, boys. Ezra Mam, I thought was outstanding. And I personally, maybe it's unfair to say this because it's a final series and you wouldn't count that towards season. But for me, he's Dally M6 of the year.
Dally M6 of the year is a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's no one really, like, I saw Munster won the Rugby League Players Association 5-8, and I sort of went, oh, really?
I
Then
think
I had to
that's
look at the
more on-
options,
yeah.
and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
It's like I would have had halfway through the season Cody Walker shitting into it, and he faded. Ezra's been pretty damn consistent this year. I just love that he just plays his role in this team. He doesn't overplay his hand. He just chimes in where he's needed here and there, and he just fits this side perfectly. Like, literally 18 months ago, we were going, yeah, good highlights in reserve grade. He's probably a little bit too raw for first grade.
Too soon.
Now he's going into a grand final, and I'm not worried.
Yeah, and no one's even talking about the fact that Ezra Mam's going into a grand final. Like, it has not been spoken about. And also, he was one of the best on field in a prelim. Like, he was so good on the weekend. So, I thought he was outstanding. And I just think
Try score was some saucy shit. Like,
man.
you look at it when he takes on the line there. There wasn't much in front of him. He's just going, we're going at speed. We've half got him on the back foot. I'll take him on. He made it look like something was on, but I think he created that just about out of nothing. It was brilliant.
There is honestly nothing better in rugby league than a good left foot step.
really, because especially when you get, was it Smoothie that threw that ball or Walters? Whoever it was, that long ball, which makes the defence panic and run overs instead of running up and straight and then out, which Ezra Mam just identified immediately and just went bang, straight. As soon as he touched it, bang, a left foot. And even to like not knock that on, far out and get it on. Oh, great try. As I said, I've said it so many times, but he really is, out of all the players, he reminds me the most of the 90s Broncos. Like, just an absolute excitement machine. And some of his hits in defence, unbelievable.
It's good to see, obviously, the Broncos back to where they should be, but it's good to see them with guys like Ezra Mam, like Reece Walsh, who are just lights out entertainment players, which is what the Broncos are always built on.
Yep. I mean, we've got to speak about him. Reece Walsh, just 3 try assists, 146 metres, 4 tackle breaks, a line break, 6 line break assists, 2 offloads. He is seriously on the trajectory to be the game's biggest ever superstar. If he continues this kind of highlight reel stuff and he stays in a side, whether it's Broncos or somewhere else that's making grand finals, he would probably be the game's biggest ever superstar. Who was it? Was it Sam Thaiday? I was watching maybe 9, and they were talking about there are people that are genuinely acting like they've never, like he's like the Harry Styles of...
Corey Parker went on
Corey Parker,
one of the great rants of all time, calling him Harry Styles. Yeah.
Because like there are like young girls crying, people lying in front of buses, like that's the pandemonium.
It's like when Timmy goes to Kuma.
Absolutely. That's why
you beat me to the punch there. I was about to jump in on you. Too quick.
But he's got a long ways to go in regards to runs on the board, in regards to achievements, in regards to all that. But when you play like this, a highlight machine, he genuinely could be one of the game's biggest superstars.
Tell you what, one of the things that I think typifies how good he is, and it's the shape they run with him when he sweeps out the back, like, and particularly when they do it out of their own end, because most fullbacks, when they sweep out the back of their, more often than not, going to be their back rower, it's all about timing and to strip, like with how good defences are in the NRL these days, to strip them and get them on the edge. Everything has to be perfect timing. So they run real tight to their back row. It's the last second they go and it has to be perfect. Reece Walsh gets it so deep and they just go Reynolds or Mam or whoever it is getting the ball, go as deep as you want because you just need the space in front of you and you will carve them to bit. You are too quick. You are too talented. Your footwork is too good. They won't touch you. And just about any other fullback in the NRL, I think it's a good lesson for the Knights and Kalen Ponga because he's in a similar mould where he could do it as well. But you do it that deep, they go, sweet. They get extra bodies over there. They tackle you. It fizzles out. With Reece Walsh, it's just like, okay, well, I go through that hole, that hole, that hole. How am I going to beat you up?
Well,
it's so deep.
It's such a good shout because his isn't about timing. His is about space. So all you need to do is go, we just need to give him a 20-metre corridor. Whereas I think a lot of other fullbacks coming around the back and ball players, they're going, we need a certain player to jam in. We need to create an overlap. Whereas with Reece Walsh, they're going, we just need to give you a 20-metre corridor and then you decide what you're going to do. And that's a scary prospect because you can give that to him even off slow play the ball sometimes. Even if they get a slow play the ball, as long as Reynolds holds his man, he's basically going to get 20 metres on the edge there. That's with the big sweeping plays. And then on the shorter sides, he needs, let's say, 10 metres, but just with 2 players rather than 3 players or however many players are outside him. And that's the scary thing is, how do you create an environment where he doesn't get that space? Really, the only way you can is by premeditating and going and jamming in, but then he hits short. So,
it's like to try and take any of that time off him and allow time to get enough defenders across there. You just really have to dominate their middles. And who's going to dominate the Broncos' middles? Maybe Penrith this weekend, but that's it. You mentioned it. Or I mentioned it before, like with the Melbourne Storm spine, and you need your pack going forward. Walsh doesn't necessarily need that, which is, I think he's the only player in the NRL who doesn't.
Yeah, seriously, because he's one of those rare situations where if you jam in, we know for a fact that he can make the big play, which is over the top. The other, not as hard play, but you still got to make the right decision, the short ball. And then he's got Reno inside him, arguably the best short kicker in the game. That just goes, if you're jamming in so much, I'm just going to kick over to Selwyn Cobbo, which we actually saw on the weekend, but it was one of their worst bounces in the history of mankind that went over Selwyn. So it just puts defences in. It's almost like, look, it's important in every single game, but heading into this grand final, what's so important for Penrith Panthers is field position. You just need to make sure that they don't get good field position. Look, if they want to risk it coming out of their own end, good on them. Let them risk it. But basically, Penrith Panthers need to go, and we'll get into it a bit more. We just can't let him in our 20 because at some point, he will score a try. But yeah, he was amazing.
Didn't last weekend.
Well, he'll set up a try.
I jinxed him.
Last weekend? Didn't he score?
Oh, this weekend.
Storm? Oh, this weekend.
Sorry, this weekend. Yeah, he had him as his try scorer. Took him
6 line break assists and no try. And 3 try assists.
Not very often you lose on a $1.30 bet. It's unlucky.
Conspiracy.
You know what?
You're,
that's karma.
I dominated all year the tipping. You guys had to go to the heart of it. And you had to go to Kevy Wild to say, mate, Reece Walsh cannot score because we can't let this bloke win another week.
Give me a break. Adam Reynolds, I thought he was really calm and collected. I will say there were periods in that first half where it's like, I think Reno needs to rein him in a bit. Just, boys, fucking calm down. And let's just get into the groove of things. So clearly that half-time came at a perfect time for Brisbane because whatever they said at half-time must have been, boys, let's calm down here. Let's just get through our sets. We will score points. And they were almost a different side when they came out in the second half. Who stood out for you, Guru?
No, we already spoke about Herbie. We already spoke about Reece Walsh. Mate, there was one... The back row that comes off the bench, Palacia, he had a bad knock-on with one of his first touches.
Hiakura?
No, I thought Palacia, sorry. He had a bad knock-on with... Front row, sorry. Yep. He had a bad knock-on with one of his first touches coming out of their own end. But then after that, I thought he was really good. I think he played 40-odd minutes. He played 52 minutes. Got through 168 run metres off 19 runs. I thought he was really good. 70 post-contact. He was solid.
Mate, he's a huge signing for the Titans. I think he's going to be so good for him. I felt so sorry for him because that little knock-on he had, he actually had gotten that out of his game and he'd been so good and he was outstanding on the weekend. And I felt real sorry for him because you could see on his face that he was like, oh, I got that shit out of my game because there was a period there where he struggled with it a little bit. But I love his bounce back.
He was filthy with himself.
Yeah, because he had worked so hard. And you're right. It's... I think Palacia from last year, if that happens, he almost goes into his shell a little bit. But this version of Palacia and the maturity, like he had 19 runs, 168 metres, 70 post-contact, a tackle break, 22 tackles, 2 offloads. It's a great knock from a front rower coming off the bench. A really good knock.
You know who else I thought was all right? A guy that I didn't expect to be in this, the guy that I didn't expect to be playing in a grand final this year was Jesse Arthurs. I thought he held his own out there.
Yeah, outside of that first era.
That first one, outside of that, yes, but I thought he did pretty well.
Yeah, no, that's why he got selected over.
Like all things considered, going up against that Warriors right edge where they've carved up every single team in this competition, I thought he did well.
Yeah, no, did really well to recover because you could tell that was a nervous drop. Like he doesn't drop them. He barely ever drops them. And it was so. Alrighty, let's get straight into the preview then, shall we, boys?
Let's do it.
Whew, I'm getting nervous fucking thinking about it. Okay.
You should be, mate.
Wow. Jeez, you're aggressive today, Guru. Wow.
Got to enjoy this week, mate. It's not very often
I'm trying to enjoy it, and my friends keep betraying me.
I like not being on the receiving end of it for once.
Unbelievable.
Just dish it out elsewhere. It's good.
Okay.
First New South Wales versus Queensland GF since Tigers Cowboys in 05.
Is it really?
Holy shit.
That is hectic. Okay. Let's get into it. Round 1, Panthers. Sorry. The last time they played at...
Guru's trying to prove
that's
it wrong.
wild. I can't believe it.
Thinking about all the Queensland game finals.
Okay, so last matches played. Round 12, Panthers defeat Broncos 15-4. Round 1, Broncos defeat Panthers 13-12. I mean, isn't that... look at those two scorelines. That is just like... It shows you how close these two teams are when they play well. Okay. Wins at this venue, so the Core Stadium. 50% win percentage for Panthers, 47% for the Broncos, and wins overall 51% for the Panthers and 54% for the Broncos. I'm not sure if that's for a club, but anyway. So basically, at this venue, relatively the same. But heading into this game, the reason why I'm backing the Broncos as strongly as I'm backing them is because it's all. Look, I understand it's my bias and it's my hope, but I think that this is going to be their moment. I think they're going to have the moment. And I know that I'm biased because I've been in the locker room. I'm biased because I'm a Broncos fan. But I just believe that it was almost a blessing that we had such a poor first half and we didn't just go out there and absolutely dominate the Warriors, I think, because it creates a sense of, boys, we need to be better. Whereas if we go out and absolutely dominate the Warriors, I think that there is a chance that we get to the finals and we get a bit complacent, whereas I don't think there's any reason to be complacent after that performance, even though obviously it was a strong win. I just think that when you look at those two sides, Broncos at their best, I just think that Panthers forward pack will struggle to win that first contact. I think the grand final will be won and lost in that first contact, and I think the Broncos are the best in the comp at winning it when they've got the ball and winning it when they don't have the ball. One area, though, where I think Panthers are much better than the Broncos is they're probably like just a percentage behind in that contact. So essentially as good, but they're much, much better at wrestle. They're much, much better at hitting and dragging blokes back than the Broncos. So if Broncos can somehow negate that, then I think it's going to be really hard for the Panthers forwards to keep up with the pace. Now, on the flip side of the Panthers, though, is that back three is unbelievable coming out their own end. And what have we seen with the Brisbane Broncos is that we spoke about it all episode, a bit of late footwork with good in contact backs, it can make the Broncos struggle a little bit through the middle there. And that is one area where if the Broncos can maybe condense just slightly more than they usually do to get more men in the tackle to make sure that they can dominate their first few tackles, they can get a win there. Panthers, on the other hand, if their back three have the games that they have been having, it's going to be super hard to get on top of them.
Penrith's first contact hasn't been subpar in about 3 to 4 years. And I know they're a very explosive forward pack, the Broncos, but what makes you think that it's going to be anything less than top standard again on Sunday?
No, I don't think it won't be anything less than top standard. I just think the Broncos are a little bit better. So when you add those like little bit percentages up, I just think that they may begin to win the ruck and get a bit of momentum. Now, look, guys, I'm not sitting here saying like they're going to blow them off the park. I'm talking about a grand final win. You know, I've backed 2 or more tries, but in reality, like if it's 1 to 12, it's 1 to 12. And I think most people would assume that's the probability. I'm, the bit of a joke with the face music. But anyway, that's the area, though, where I just think there's no other team in the comp that can go can match it with the Brizzy Broncos at their best. So if Broncos go out, completed 85% completion for the whole match, I don't know if they can go with them for 80 minutes due to the fact of their ceiling is a little bit higher than the Panthers' ceiling. Now, on the flip side of it, as you said, probability-wise, it's more likely that the team that has done it for 3 or 4 years will be better at it in the grand final. I just think the Broncos at the best will be just a bit too hard to handle for the Panthers.
How do you feel about playing down there at a core?
Look, it's a grand final. It's like, it is what it is. We've got Reynolds, who's played down there more than probably anyone. Paddy Carrigan played a bunch of Origin. Payne Haas has played Origin. Staggs has played Origin. I don't think it's going to be an issue. I really don't. Boys, how do you see the match going?
I do think the Penrith Panthers win. I'm just a big believer in been there, done it before, that grand final experience. But and it's no shock they're in the grand final with them. But if I had to pick one team that I think can worry the Panthers out of this entire competition, it's this Broncos side. Just because, and I think that, when you have a look at the way that they played last week, all their offloads in that game, I genuinely think that was a tactic to prepare for this game. And, as you said, they have got an explosive pack. And I still think, though, that if the Broncos just try and get into grind football with them, I still think it plays into the Panthers' hands. I think the Broncos have to do what the Broncos do best and play some footy and move the ball around. I think that's how they can start to worry the Panthers. So I just hope the Broncos don't try and play that grindy footy with them.
See,
there's a balance.
Yeah. My opinion is I actually think, obviously you don't want to play exactly like them, but I actually think that if Broncos play their best, they can equal their grind, and then you add on Reece Walsh making the right decisions.
Can be done.
It can be done, I think.
I've learned the last few years that Penrith, they tend to save their best performances.
Yeah,
for the biggest stage. So I reckon there's every chance we haven't seen Penrith's best footy.
For sure. Look, for all the listeners, I know I'm up against it. I'm not sitting here like an idiot going, oh yeah, Broncos are going to go blow them off the park. Probability would say the team with the most experience, with a young, incredibly good roster, will get the job done. I'm obviously a Broncos fan. I believe in my boys. That's where I'm coming from. Timmy?
Yeah. Look, the Broncos can win this game, no doubt. If they do, it'll almost certainly be tight. But I think they're the bookies have got a 3.5 line for it. I'm surprised it's not a greater line. Penrith, who have been there and done it time and time again, they're unflappable. Trying to find an area in their game, it's almost impossible. Brisbane have the team make up to beat Penrith. They've got the pack to match them. They can get them on the back foot. They can unsettle them. But Brisbane also have a lot of errors in their game. They have inexperience. We talk about Reece Walsh and how there's a lot of errors in his game. There's a lot of brilliance, but he's got the areas. What if they go wrong early? Selwyn Cobbo has them in as well. There are just no question marks about Penrith, who know their systems. They know their game plan. Week in, week out in finals, they completed 80+%. They will be there. They will deliver. They'll come out of the blocks firing. The Broncos, they could beat them, but they have to be near perfect to win this game of footy, and very few things can go wrong for them. So while they're capable of it, I just think it's even last year. I know maybe Brisbane are a little bit higher ceiling than Parramatta, but we still went into that game going, Parramatta have beaten Panthers a handful of times in the past few seasons. They had this big bustling forward pack to match Penrith. They were in a different hemisphere. I just think Penrith will be too good.
And that's the thing that worries me with Brisbane too, is that in this competition, Brisbane, they can afford to make a lot of errors against other sides because they don't punish you for them. This Penrith side is just such a different kettle of fish.
And I love... I say it all the time. I say every time we preview a Panthers game that offloads, second phase play, that's how you rattle them. And when you've got Reece Walsh on the end of those offloads, that's where the opportunity comes in, and they can beat them and they can rattle them with some second phase play. And it's a great point that you boys made earlier that, was that the intent with the 23 offloads on the weekend? Was that preparation for this to get it going? And if it is, I absolutely love it, and I love that tactic. But it's also easier said than done. Not only do you have to win the contact, bounce off tackles, but that's where mistakes creep in and errors creep in. And it's if they all go to hand, sweet, they could win this but yeah, it's a tough task.
Yeah. Oh, it's a massively tough task. if Broncos complete at like 75% or 70%, absolutely they get beaten. If we wrap the grand final up and Broncos complete it at 75% and they win, I will be mind blown. As I said, I just think I've got belief that this group of boys, it's their moment, and I believe that they will step up to that moment. But I understand that they're the ones that need to step up to the moment, whereas the Panthers, they're already at the moment. They are the moment. They are the moment that needs to be stepped up to. So I know it's going to be a big feat. I know they're underdogs, but clearly Broncos bias. I believe in them. I really do believe that they're going to go out there and play the best game they've played all year. And if they don't, you know what? At least they died trying.
Yeah, I think the other thing that sort of fills me with a bit more confidence with Penrith is I think their edge defence is just the best in the NRL.
So good.
By far and away. And you have a look at, the two edge back rows, Scotty Sorensen, Liam Martin, laterally, both are so good. And I think that's where Reece Walsh, we saw it in Origin, he just got to the outside shoulder of our back row way too often, and then it was show over. You got Stephen Crichton, who, the more I think about it, the more I think, has he been put at left centre solely to come up with those big defensive plays?
Maybe.
Like, has Ivan been planning this for weeks going, we're going to have to beat Brisbane at some point, we're going to have to stop Reece Walsh? Is he the play there?
Well, when you really sit down and think about it, and it won't be, I guess, measured, but if the Broncos are to beat Penrith, it'll be one of the greatest grand final wins in the modern era. We're talking about a Penrith Panthers team that a lot of people think is the strongest it's been in its dominant era, heading into a grand final. So there's a lot of people here that would argue that they would give the 2017 Storm team a run for their money. That's how good this Penrith Panthers side is. So obviously the safe money is Panthers win, and Panthers win by, maybe 2 tries. They choke the Broncos out. The Broncos make too many errors, and all of a sudden they're down by 14 points and it's game over. So yeah, I'm absolutely aware of that, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit if that happens, because that's the likely thing to happen, because Penrith have earned that reputation through getting the job done, whereas Broncos have not answered that question. What do you do on the biggest stage of rugby league together? How do you react on the biggest stage of rugby league? Panthers have done it for 2.5 grand finals. Last 2 grand finals, and against the Storm in the second half, they came out absolutely firing. A key for the Panthers that I think is a real point of difference, it's the fact that a guy like Cleary not only has a similar kicking game to Reynolds, but he's also a really good ball runner. The physicality that he brings is probably something that Renault doesn't. Now, you could argue, does Renault have a few tricks up his sleeve, almost like a DCE-esque, where that mental side of things, he's just been around a little bit longer? I'm not sure, but what we know for sure is Cleary physically and running-wise is a little bit more. But I think the biggest difference is their back three's running ability. Jesse Arthur's, Selwyn Cobbo, Reece Walsh is not a meter reader, so you have to basically put him out. Herbie does take up a lot of those meters. But when you look at the back three and meter reader and getting this set started, it's honestly not even close. And that's the biggest concern I have for the Brisbane Broncos.
One thing I'm so interested to see how it plays out this weekend is just the impact Herbie's allowed to have.
True.
Because he has been a 180, 200 metre plus guy every single... And I think that with the Broncos, once again, I think there's levels to this competition, and it's Penrith, Brisbane, everyone else. And I think that the way that the Brisbane Broncos attack, like, you very rarely see that ball get out to the left winger. I think it is quite predictable, but there's a lot of teams that aren't able to stop Herbie realistically. It'd be interesting to see how the Panthers do handle him, and then also, if they've got Stephen Crichton, especially out there on the left edge to stop the right, I'm just so interested to see if Brisbane can't play to plan A, how they adapt.
I think that Reece Walsh and Selwyn Cobbo represent almost the Brisbane Broncos heading into this grand final. Like, if they play the best they can play, we might see some of the greatest grand final tries we've ever seen. But if they struggle, you're sitting there going, oh my God, what is going on right now?
And that's the thing that worries me the most with the Broncos, is that you've got that edge of Staggs and Selwyn Cobbo going up against Stephen Crichton, a big game player of note. You've now got Nathan Cleary floating down that side as well. I think the grand final is going to be decided on that edge in big moments.
Isn't like Selwyn Cobbo such an enigma? Because if we roll in next week and he's got like 2 tries, 250 metres, and he's had one of the all-time games, we'll be like, well, yeah, Selwyn Cobbo could do that.
It's Selwyn, yeah.
If we roll in next week and he's got 3 errors and like 4 bad reads, you'd be like, yeah, it's Selwyn Cobbo.
It's Selwyn.
Yeah.
It's a good point around Walsh and that, and because we know, like, he's the focal point of your attack, we know that he will be in 10 genuine attacking opportunities, and probably some pretty decent ones. You know, if you can get 8 of those 10 right, you could win by your 2 tries.
Yeah.
But if he gets 3 of those 10 right, it could get ugly very quickly.
Very quickly. And so that's why, you know, I know a lot of people go, oh my God, face the music, you said 2 more tries. Like, I'm just leaning all in. Like, I'm putting all my chips in behind Reece Walsh and, you know, Paddy Carrigan, Payne Haas, and just going, you know what, it's better to believe in the boys than be like, ugh.
I'd be embarrassed to sit with you if you did anything but that, Kempy, so we'll give you that one.
And I know that, you know, if Broncos lose, all the Penrith fans will be, you know, in the comments section having a crack at me. It's like,
yeah, we
it's
will.
all part of rugby. Yeah. See, that's your fan, guys. That's the guy that's bringing on your bandwagon. Hey?
How many minutes for Payne Haas?
So Payne Haas, I know we spoke about this a little bit off air, maybe?
Yeah, pre-show.
I'll be going Payne Haas essentially for 30 to 35 minutes in the first half, taking him off before half time, depending on how the game is going, keeping him off for 5 or so minutes and saying, Payne, I need the greatest performance in rugby league history. Just stay out there for 35 minutes. Same with Paddy Carrigan. I would be trying to give those 2 players, as many minutes as humanly possible until they get to a point where they're gassed. Now, that's really dangerous because that one set that they're gassed could be 6 points. But I would be hoping, or basically setting them up for an environment to go, boys, in their heads, I'll be saying, boys, imagine you're playing 80 minutes. Just think you're playing 80 minutes and we can go from there. Because that's where Penrith can really roll over us. If we take them both off and we lose that high quality, like, it's going to be tough.
I think there's, are you assuming that Pat's going to play 80?
I honestly think Pat and Haas
I reckon there's a
play
chance
80.
both do.
Yeah.
I reckon Pat almost definitely does.
Well, Paddy's actually, so 50 minutes the last game, and I think the game before was, sorry guys.
I think they both got early
he had a
showers
spell, yeah.
against the Storm. Pulled a few
So
of them early to give
Carrigan,
them a spell.
60 minutes. So 60 minutes, and it was Haas that only played 54
Yeah.
minutes. So Walters is clearly
Yeah.
resting these boys for the big
Gearing
dance.
them up.
How good is that? Like, Payne Haas, one of the biggest boppers in the NRL. He's like got an early shower and he only played 54 minutes.
I know, it's
when you talk
insane.
about basically any other front row in the game, and
Yeah.
we talk about Fisher Harris, Joe Tarpany, a few of these other blokes, and like that's their normal game time. That's his early shower.
Yeah, it's insane. Absolutely insane.
Oh, there'll be other guys in the competition that do 54 and you have to manage them that week.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
I know you've mentioned him, but a guy like Critter does scare me because he hasn't just had one big play in a big game. He's had about 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And sometimes we've been really good at times with our edge defence, and then sometimes it just goes horribly wrong. So if there's one guy that can execute that, it is. But seriously, I know a lot of people are looking at Cleary Reynolds, and I'm excited for that, no doubt. But I'm more excited for Fisher Harris versus Haas. I'm more excited for that.
What minute of the game will it be that Walsh throws his 3-man cutout and Critter snaps up from the end, runs the field? First 20?
In this game, if Critter scores, that'll be his 4th grand final in a row he's scored. It'll be the first one to do it since Johnny King in the 1960s.
Mate, that's
Unbelievable.
unbelievable stuff.
And it's game 100. He turned 23 the other day.
It is actually insane.
I was having a look through those numbers and everything, and going back through history, and obviously, the only guys with a better record, Johnny King scored in 6 grand finals in a row. That was in a team that won 11 prems in a row. So
And a different time in rugby.
different
league.
time, and I went and had it obviously Brett Kenny. He was obviously the 5'8" in the team that won 3 grand finals last time. I was having a look at Brett Kenny's numbers. So he scored 2 tries in 81, 82, and 83. The third time he scored 2 tries in grand final, that was his 91st game of first grade. So Brett Kenny did that as a 5'8", 3 grand finals in a row, 10 games before his 100th game of first grade.
Far out.
How unbelievable is that?
Freaking incredible.
Talking to all the oldies who went through, particularly the early age with the Paradays and all these greats and names to get thrown out about some of the best of all time, and so many I chat to them like, where the hell is Brett Kenny in this conversation?
Yeah.
He was a superstar.
And that's where, I think, and Matty brought it up the other day, and with our most valuable bloke, when you do things should matter.
Yeah.
The fact that you do things on the biggest stages should matter, in my opinion, so much more than the regular season.
Well, that's what makes the Panthers so scary heading into this grand final.
Yeah.
There's essentially no one in that roster that is more nervous than they would normally be for a rugby league game. Like maybe a little bit, but there's not a single one essentially that's going in there going, oh my God, a grand final. They're going, yeah, we know what it's like. We know the schedule. We know the planning. We know that sometimes media can be quite a lot. They know everything. And that's what's so scary about this Panthers side. So, and look, I know Panthers fans probably going to be in the comment section saying, oh, fuck, you serious, blah, blah, blah. Look, I get it. Panthers are an unbelievable beast. There has been no one that has praised Panthers as much as I have. But obviously Broncos, they're my boys. I'm backing them to the
I guess like to the Broncos' advantage, like because you are such a big club, you are so used to media attention and all that all the time. So as much as you haven't been in a grand final for quite some time, a lot of those boys are quite used to. Obviously, it's a new level of attention.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of teams that make it to grand finals and you like sort of out of nowhere or whatever, and you just see the lights are just too much for them. Like, I don't think it will be too much. I think this Broncos mob, like Reece Walsh and these guys, I think they just lap it up.
Yeah. I don't think media attention for the Bronx boys is going to be a concern.
Yeah.
They almost enjoy it to a degree. It's a different generation. I do think one interesting matchup that probably won't get talked about much, but it's the fact that Ivan Cleary's won 2 premierships. Kevy Walters obviously, 5, 6 if you want to get generous. I wonder, like, is there something that Kevy knows about grand final winning that maybe Ivan doesn't know yet? Or is there something Ivan knows because he did as a coach and Kevy doesn't know because he hasn't done as a coach?
You always hear the stories about like the old like grand final breakfast. Like I've heard Joey tell the story that they went in 2001 to their grand final breakfast and Brian Smith and his Eels walked in like planks of wood, and Joey just walked away from breakfast going, "I've got them.
Really?
I've got these guys beat. I can see in their body language I've got them." This grand final breakfast would have to have more swagger than ever, right? You're looking at the 34 most confident blokes in rugby league, I reckon. It'd be unreal.
Imagine Luai and Walsh eyeing each other off as they walk into the room.
So
It'll always be a competition of who can be more relaxed.
Ezra Mam, like...
He's rolling with his eyes closed.
Yeah.
It's like, are you asleep? I'm just relaxed, bro. I don't even... What have we got this weekend? What's on? A big game of footy?
Walsh should do that, and then Luai would be laying in a wheelbarrow as Fisher Harris like wheels him in. He'd be sound asleep in it.
No, he'll zoom from his bed.
If you win a grand final this weekend, fucking one guy that I think should get a lot of credit, and without taking anything away from Kev, the influence that Billy Slater has had on so many of these Maroons that play for the Broncos.
Yeah.
Pat Carrigan, Reece Walsh. I'm not sure if you'd be here without Billy Slater's influence on some of those guys.
Especially Reece Walsh specifically. Yeah. I think Paddy was always kind of destined for this just level-headed...
he has leveled up though, I think.
He's absolutely there, but I think he was always naturally going to do that. Yeah. Whereas I think Reece Walsh, there was a real chance that his career could be like up, down, and I think this year he's been really consistent. Yeah, really, really consistent. Mate, it's just I cannot wait. The game is going to be the good thing about this game is like if Penrith do run away with it, like. We are witnessing greatness, absolutely incredible. But we know for at least 20 to 40 minutes, the intensity is going to be absolutely out of this fucking world. I think it's going to be the closest thing to Origin level we've seen in quite a few years. Yeah. I really do. Like I think that the line speed, I think the hits, the aggression, the explosiveness, it is going to be next level.
I love about these two teams as well. They're not like Melbourne. You never know which forwards are actually going to start until they name it. These two teams, fucking...
locked in.
Everyone can tell you the 17 right now.
Yeah. I think one person that may hold a bit of a joker card, we know what Haas can do, we know what Carrigan can do, but it's Flegler. Yeah. He may hold a bit of a joker card because he is so unorthodox. He's so big, but he actually doesn't, like he can do the big hit-ups if you wanted to, just right. But sometimes just the way he crabs across field and his offload and that can be really hard to defend, as we saw obviously on the weekend.
He's the key to that second phase, Flegler.
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
He had 4 something on the weekend. He's the man for it.
So that's one area where, when I look at the Penrith forward pack and I look at the Bronx forward pack, it doesn't necessarily mean it's better, but it's a point of difference. It's a difference in the forward packs where if you wanted to argue, okay, Haas gets through his work, Carrigan gets through his work, very up and down. They'll go for 60, 70. Fisher Harris and Leota are similar-ish. They're very up and down. They'll get through their work. Now, I know Carrigan has a bit of ball playing in his game. Isaiah Yeo is a little bit different to Carrigan. It's funny, like, it's almost like on a scale. Carrigan is like more of a front rower, and like Yo is more of a 13, but they both offer something different to each other in that 13 role.
Which is what the 13 jersey should be.
For sure.
It should be team dependent.
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah, my biggest concern with a guy like, or even like the Broncos or a Reece Walsh, is just that first 20 minutes of those big plays of just being patient. Very easy to say, though, because grand final, the energy thrumming through your veins. Going to be interesting to see what they do with Luai, Broncos. Do they target him aggressively, or do they go, well, look, he got through it last week, so maybe we should build a game plan that's different? Going to be really interesting to see who goes after him there.
I don't think I would. Mate, with his footwork and stuff, you try and go after him, he can just leave you for dead.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm all mean like running. Because, for example, they targeted Sean Johnson.
Yeah.
So I wonder whether they're going to do the same thing.
You go like he's coming off an injury, is he underdone? And they spend their first 40 minutes going at him, and you might not look like missing a tackle, and you might go, we've just wasted. They've just got to play their own footy, don't they, the Broncos?
I think so.
Because 1-17, there's not really a chink in the Panthers. They've just got to play their own footy.
Yeah, agreed. Anything else, boys?
Yeah, just last thing though, I sort of like, as I sort of said, that edge defence of the Penrith Panthers. Like Isaac Tungo missed that tackle the other day, and I sort of went, "Oh my god, that looks so weird." I watched it again this morning, and like he missed that tackle, but the faith that Brian To'o had in him to make that tackle, that's why it looks so bad, because To'o had and that's what makes this Panthers side so good, that they have complete faith in each other. There is never any panic, and that's Reece Walsh hasn't come up against many edges like that. I think that's going to be a huge test for them, because you see Brian To'o, he just stays on his assignment. He goes, I know he'll take care of that. He didn't, but it's not very often that happens.
The first time ever.
Wild.
Now, don't forget, guys, DMP podcast shirts dropping Thursday, 6 p.m. World Podcast Champions. Limited amount. As you can see, they're freaking cool as. Thursday, 6 p.m. Once they are gone, we are not making these ones again. Never, ever, ever. So make sure to be there at 6 p.m. on Thursday on bloke.shop. Because they'll be going like hotcakes. Anything else, boys? Beers and break-evens?
No, we're all done, mate.
All done?
Slapped him around this year and he quit.
Oh, wow.
Jesus.
Very aggressive
You haven't
today,
missed
Roo.
today, have you?
I'm ready to go. It's finals time.
Bloody
Just
hell.
because your team's in the grand final, mate,
How
doesn't mean
exciting.
you carry on. All right, as usual, we'll go and fuck ourselves. Thank you.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.